We are, yes, night. Okay, and we are up and early once again, and karibu sana to the show. This is Good Morning Kenya on Good Morning and KBC Channel 1. We are ready to give you the latest that we have for you, including what's trending on our local dailies, as well as news on what is making headlines in the last 24 hours. Something to be happy about is that MPs actually rejected tax on unga, boda, gambling and beer. We'll be discussing that later on in the newspapers and what it portends to you as a local citizen. But there's something, ladies and gentlemen, GG again today, because yeah, Tutu, yeah, so we are here. Have you noticed that there's a problem with Express Highway, Mlolongo exit? Yes. Shida ni nini? Change.
Yeah.
Unaenda na zao umetumia 180, eh?
It hasn't sunk in yet.
I don't know.
Actually, yesterday there was heavy traffic on that expressway.
Yes, very right.
The normal road was better than the expressway.
Because people would think that, you know, it's late in the night, so let me take the express highway and I'll beat the traffic, only to realize that there's somebody who had used 120 and akona 1,000 bob, and now they're looking for a change, you know?
Yeah, you know, initially, it was supposed to be totally cashless.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know why they changed midway and decided that I used it yesterday, and you can just give you 100 bob or 1,000 and they start looking for change. And of course that will delay your exit. But the highway itself,
But you know, considering mobile money and especially M-Pesa is still a concept that so many of the first world countries are trying to get a hand of.
Yeah.
And Kenya has been it for 15 years plus, and it's not the first option that was employed. I mean, that was bound to become a problem, and especially with the pandemic, where everything shifted on the online platform, then the expressway, which is supposed to be added convenience.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally think mobile money should have been the first option, even before they get those cards that you can be able to top up and you just tap and go. But now with the cash situation, nani atakakwenda kutafuta change ama watakana ready cash hapo, because that poses another risk.
Mobile money, don't you think that would even be a bit difficult? I mean, have you had this experience whereby, for instance, in a supermarket, now two people are queuing and you have like two people who are paying via M-Pesa, na wako na cash up on the third person. Just look at the kind of traffic it causes there. So how much more would that have been if they were allowing M-Pesa?
No, trust me, if you have tried the new M-Pesa app, that thing is fast.
Really?
Very fast.
Sisi watu wa cash tuko tu sawa tu.
Very fast.
Umetumia ngapi hiyo ni?
Because I know delays are there.
Yeah.
Delays are always there. But when you use the app, my goodness.
But as the government
if you
said,
can transact at this particular moment, you use the normal toolkit and I use the M-Pesa app, I'll be done by the time you're even trying to wait for the confirmation to see if that is the actual name.
Yeah, but I hope the government is taking note, because it's still on a test drive, just run. Sure. So some of those, you know, weak loopholes will be fixed to hasten the move of, the movement of people, the traffic and what have you, so that it's an express highway. You have to go. If you have a card, just swipe. The same way you go to the airport, you know, or any other place. Simply press, get your card and exit. That
Tap
should
and
be
go,
it.
tap and go.
And I think long term they might just resort to the card system altogether as the really only mode of payment. It looks like to be much more faster when you compare the cash.
Because you know Kenyans, I noticed something with Kenyans is they first of all wait and see, and then they embrace everything. Now, if we have like 10,000 vehicles each waiting each and every day in the morning and in the evening, then it beats the whole logic of having an expressway.
Exactly.
Absolutely. All right. Second, each one every of you. Hatujasalimiana, starting with Jen, then tuendelee.
Good morning. Jitawa Jen wa boy wa Kefira. Karibu. Doreen.
Hatujasalimiana, tulikuwa tumeanza kuongea issues. Beautiful morning to your viewers, and kama kawaida, we always appreciate you making time joining us Monday through Thursday, 6:30 all the way to 10 a.m. And obviously today we definitely have a packed up show for you. Interesting conversations coming your way, as well as the dailies and so much more. So stay put up until the end of the show. I'm Doreen Arange Okello Troy.
Indeed, and it's 76 days to the general polls. I'll be back with the main news, starting with Mombasa. So let me say this, Mwambaje. Back with the news. Good morning. Let's have a look at what we have on the news desk. Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang is calling on accountants not to shy away from exposing corrupt practices they come across in the line of duty, saying they are protected by law from any victimizations. Speaking in Mombasa while addressing the Institute of Certified Public Accountants' 39th annual meeting, Dr. Matiang urged accountants not to be used to cook books to satisfy the corrupt, saying the profession elevates them to high calling to be faithful custodians of funds for development and service delivery and should not be used to enrich the selfish few.
Matiang says the country is rich in resources that require proper harnessing and administration to achieve government development goals, including enhanced service delivery through the dimensional approach of preservation, protection and prudent management of the same.
One role is that we must all join government and help my sister here, the Auditor General, and help my sister, the Controller of Budget, in fighting corruption. We will not preserve, we will not protect, and we will not prudently use public resources if we do not stand up and fight corruption in public service. The challenge of this country, and let me be frank with you, my brothers and sisters, our problems, if you are to list them, number 1, 2, and 3. Number 1 is corruption, number 2 is corruption, and number 3 is corruption.
The CS called on the institution to join government efforts in fighting corruption by name-shaming the rogue accountants who collude to steal from public coffers resources entrusted with them.
That we all look forward to a day when ISPAC will buy space in the papers and publish the names of the accountants they are removing from their roles and membership on account of cooking books. Because the problem that Dr. Margaret Nyakango deals with in county governments is not caused by ordinary people who sell sugarcane and sweet bananas in Suneka. It is caused by accountants. The people who cook books are your members, are the ones who got us all these problems. The challenges that Mr. Chairman, you pointed out about bending bills in government, the reason why we have a problem with bending bills is because of resources being deployed in an allowable manner, and the people who are doing that are professionals.
The CS assuring the meeting that Kenya is safe and his ministry is ready to support IEBC in execution of its mandate of organizing and overseeing the August 9th polls.
Our role is to support that institution, how they guide us, and we are ready to support them. Please let's go forth and exercise our democratic rights to choose the leaders that we desire to have. But as we choose them, let us remember, in my view, the main platform in this country's election this year should be use of resources, integrity, and how we are going to fight the war against corruption if we are going to move forward.
ISPAC Chairman George Mukua said the institution is concerned with the rise of basic food commodities occasioned by rising of international oil prices, hence calling for the government to intervene.
Volatility in international oil prices in view of the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict, supply chain disruptions in the energy sector, and increased prices of agricultural inputs.
Mukua said the institution is re-engineering the profession to meet the needs of the ever-changing environment through strengthening the role of internal auditors in detection and prevention of corruption.
From the war on graft to some politics, people with disabilities will now be included in the Azimio la Umoja campaign team unveiled on Monday to boost a countrywide hunt for votes. Azimio la Umoja presidential flag bearer Raila Odinga, while speaking in Nairobi, promised to form an all-inclusive government if elected president. Odinga pledging to review the 2003 People with Disability Act to increase their access to employment opportunities from the current 5% to 10%.
Azimio la Umoja presidential hopeful Raila Odinga on Tuesday met people living with disability at the Nyayo National Stadium in Nairobi County. Odinga rallied the group that has over 1.5 million registered voters countrywide to support his presidential bid, even as he vowed to include them in his government.
We will work to include people with disabilities in the society so that there's no stigma, there's no discrimination. And we start now.
Odinga vowing to ensure that the group is included in his campaign team to mobilize voters across the country.
So we will constitute a team for people with disabilities which will go around the country with us as we move and try to talk to the people of Kenya. What we are going through is a liberation of our country, a beginning of the third and final liberation of our country, Kenya.
Odinga said his administration will focus on increasing employment opportunities for people living with disability, offering free education, introducing permanent tax relief, and accelerating access to assistive devices such as wheelchairs.
As a president, I will review the PWD Act of 2003 to increase the employment of PWDs in public institutions from the current 5% to 10%. President Raila Odinga will push the government to offer free education to all PWDs in public schools, colleges and universities.
Sisi tutapeleka kura penye mwenye anachali maslahi yetu, si ndio? Na nani anachali maslahi yetu? Ni Baba Raila Amolo Odinga.
Hawa wapewe nyumba zao kwanza za ground floor, si za huko juu ati waanze kung'ang'ana mambo ya lift na nini. Kwa hivyo all those estates zinakuwa redeveloped, zikifanywa redevelopment hawa wapatiwe nafasi.
The money that we have to help the persons with disability or even affirmative action under NGAF is too little. We need to find a way to raise that money so that we can be able to help the persons living with disability a lot.
Kwa hivyo tungesitiza ya kwamba baba, going forward tunataka tuwe pamoja na wewe. Tuko na PWDs wengi lakini tunakosa financial support for resource mobilization. Tukienda mahali pengine unarushwa huko, wewe enda kwa upande wa PWD. Wengine wakipewa facilitation wewe unatemwa. Si ndio? Ni ukweli uongo? Ni ukweli uongo? Sisi tumeamua ni Baba Raila Amolo Odinga. Tuko na president mwingine. Tuko na mwingine.
But as Odinga wooed the community, his running mate Martha Karua was in Laikipia selling the Azimio la Umoja message to voters. Karua urged the electorate to vote leaders based on their manifesto and agenda for the nation.
Hatuna ubishi, tuko na amani peke yake. Na tunaambia wenzetu tuuze sera na sio matusi.
Karua defended Odinga's scorecard, saying he is fit to lead the nation owing to his efforts to liberate Kenya from poor governance and corruption.
Maisha yake yote amepigania Wakenya, haki za Wakenya, awe ndani ya serikali awe nje, haijalishi. Ukimpatia kiti hataweza kusahau maslahi yako.
Nashukuru Raila kwa kunipa ahadi. Ukimpigia kura ashinde, anataka niendeshe hiyo gurudumu la kilimo kama vile nimefanya.
And still on politics, Deputy President William Ruto has pledged to prioritize infrastructural development and job creation for the youth should he win the August 9th presidential election. Ruto, who was in Taita Taveta and Kwale counties respectively, said his vision for the country is clear and is centered on uplifting the lives of Kenyans. Meanwhile, ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi has vowed to deliver 90% of the Mulembe Nation vote to Kenya Kwanza in the general election.
Deputy President William Ruto continued with his series of campaign rallies Tuesday, leading the Kenya Kwanza team in popularizing the bottom-up economic model in Taita Taveta and Kwale counties.
Tulishakubaliana hatutaki kuacha mtu yeyote nyuma. Wale wanyonge kati yetu ni lazima tuwashike mkono.
Among his key promises to the residents of the two coastal counties was infrastructural development and sustainable ways to create jobs for the millions of jobless young people.
Hapa Taita Taveta County tuko na zaidi ya vijana 70,000 wamemaliza shule, hawana ajira. Tunaelewana? Na lazima kuwe na mpango makusudi, deliberate, ya vile nafasi za ajira zitapatikana.
Ruto also pledged to fast-track the completion of stalled water projects in the region in his 100 days in office if elected president.
100 days ya kwanza hiyo mradi tutakuwa tumeweka sahihi ili ianze, tupate maji ya irrigation, ya matumizi nyumbani na pia ya mifugo ya watu wa Taita Taveta County.
Ruto was accompanied by a section of leaders in his outfit who pledged to collaborate in securing a win for the Kenya Kwanza Alliance in the August polls.
Tunataka mipangilio kabambe ya serikali ambayo itawezesha yule ambaye atakuwa waziri kutekeleza ama kuangalia shida zetu. Na ndani ya Kenya Kwanza, ile mkataba ambao tumeweka na Mheshimiwa William Ruto, it does not matter who becomes the Minister for Lands. Shida ya pwani itatatuliwa.
Na lile jambo muhimu jamani ambalo nimejifunza kwa mikakati hii ni kwamba hii serikali kuanzia chini mpaka juu iwe ya Kenya Kwanza.
Meanwhile, ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi and his Ford Kenya counterpart Moses Wetangula pitched camp in the Western Kenya region to drum up support for the Kenya Kwanza Alliance. Mudavadi vowed to deliver 90% of the Mulembe Nation vote to Kenya Kwanza.
Sasa sisi tunawaambia tutapata 90% na tumeamua Ruto atashinda kwa round ya kwanza.
The leaders affirming that they have brokered an agreement to ensure that the alliance serves the interest of the residents of Western Kenya.
Tumeunda mkataba na tumesema katika hiyo serikali lazima jamii yetu na region yetu, tukiwa jamii ya Mulembe, tukiwa na Sabaot, Mount Elgon, tukiwa na Wateso, lazima tuwe ndani ya hiyo serikali, tuwe na shares zetu.
The leaders held rallies in different areas, including Lumakanda, Teso North, Huisero, Shinyalu, Hamisi, and Mount Elgon.
And a section of political leaders from Elgeyo-Marakwet County have opposed the proposed 6-piece voting by United Democratic Alliance UDA leaders. Led by National Vision Party leader Anthony Chelimo, the leaders claim if the formula is adopted, Kenyans will be denied their constitutional right to choose their leaders.
Speaking in Elgeyo-Marakwet County, National Vision Party leader Anthony Chelimo said Kenyans should be allowed to elect their leaders of choice and not a party. The National Vision Party is against the directive to their supporters that they should vote for UDA candidates in all 6 positions.
That is like imposing leadership on us. If the leadership on the other side is not okay, so in this area we know for the voting of DP, this excellent the Deputy President, already it's like in the box. It's only the counting that's remaining. So what we are doing is only we really need the alternative leadership within our county.
Elsewhere, the Jubilee Party has assured its candidates that there will be no zoning of regions in the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party. Jubilee Party Chairman Nelson Zuya has encouraged all aspirants vying for different posts to continue their campaigns.
Kwa sababu utakuta ya kwamba mara nyingi the youth, especially young ladies, wamekuwa wameachwa nje ya uongozi, na tunaona ya kwamba Mheshimiwa Toya amechukua hatua ya kuwahusisha, amewahusisha kikamilifu katika kampeni zake, na ako na mipango ya kuhakikisha ya kwamba katika uongozi wake atawasaidia.
Meanwhile, at least 7,000 learners in Roysambu constituency have benefited from bursaries amounting to 48 million shillings issued under the National Government Constituency Development Fund. Speaking at Kahawa Primary Grounds, Roysambu MP Dirango Waihenya asked the residents to give him a third term in Parliament to complete ongoing projects, including the construction of a polytechnic and 5 new schools.
Hapa Kahawa tunajenga secondary school. Githurai tunaongeza secondary school ingine ya boys. Ndio tuweze, hiyo eneo ni kubwa zaidi na ina vijana wengi. Tunataka kuhakikisha vijana wote, wasichana wote ambao wamehitimu kwa shule za primary hapa wasikose mahali nafasi ya secondary school huku kwetu. Hatutaki wawe wakipelekwa huko Nandi, wapi, Kisii ati kutafuta shule za upili huko.
Elsewhere, Kenyans will now be able to submit complaints on services delivered by public entities to the Office of the Ombudsman and track actions taken online. This is after the Commission on Administration of Justice launched the Complaints Management Information System to ease access to members of the public. Justice Njoki Ndongo, who launched the system, termed it as a milestone in fast-tracking access to justice, enhancing service delivery.
Kenya's justice system has today received a boost in its service delivery following the launch of the Complaint Management Information System, a digital portal by the Commission on Administrative Justice that has digitized lodging of complaints on the digital space. Lady Justice Njoki Ndungu, who represented Chief Justice Martha Koome, presided over the launch, where she termed this launch as a game changer in the service delivery to members of the public, even in the most remote of places.
I think technology is the future, clearly, especially for watchdog institutions like yourself, Chapter 15 commissions, where you're oversighting public service and government bodies. Technology is the key.
It has capacity to receive complaints and requests for information under the Access to Information Act.
Sentiments echoed by the Commission's CEO, Mercy Wambua, who thanked the German Agency for International Cooperation that was a key player in the run-up to setting up and running of the portal. Wambua added that the country is in a shift towards a digital era and that government ministries should follow suit for faster and easier service delivery.
The Commission is also empowered to initiate inquiries into matters of maladministrations and failures of government on its own motion.
It is our hope that this digital platform will enable the public, especially the vulnerable members of society, including women and youth.
A pilot project on the portal was done from the 1st of April and the feedback has been good. With an account and at the touch of a button, members of the public will now be able to not only access information but also lodge their complaints. The portal has been termed as cost-effective and efficient on service delivery.
Very well, it's 7 a.m. East African time. We're taking our first break, but when we come back, I'll take you through a couple of more stories, but we also have sports lined up. But before we do take that break, let me appreciate Randu Santa, who say you're watching live from Mariango. Caro Ongera, a very good morning to you. Mosocho, well represented. To Musime Koleb, good morning. I'm Caleb from Uganda. Rama Salim, good morning. Watching from West Pokot County. Beg your pardon. Let's have that break. We'll be right back.
Mbugua almaarufu prosecutor kwenye kipindi ukipendacho Vioja Mahakamani kwenye runinga ya KBC Channel 1 anaomba usaidizi wako kudhibiti gharama ya matibabu ya figo. Jamaa na marafiki wameandaa mchango mnamo tarehe 11 mwezi ujao wa 6 kwenye ukumbi wa Charter Hall, jumba la City Hall jijini Nairobi. Waweza kutuma mchango wako kwa paybill number 247247, nambari ya akaunti 777626. Gibson amekuwa mwanani wako na wangu kwa muda usiopungua miaka 40 sasa. Ni zamu yetu nasi tuwe wandani wake wakati huu mgumu.
Welcome back and thanks for keeping it KBC. Now let's move to the corridors of justice, where the main suspect in the shooting of a man at Mirema in Kasarani, Nairobi, will be detained for 14 more days to allow police conclude investigations. Dennis Karani Gashoki, who surrendered to detectives on Monday, is highly suspected to have been the driver of the vehicle that was used by the killers to escape.
Dennis Karani before Milimani Senior Principal Magistrate Karo Muthoni.
Of June to confirm if the investigations are complete.
He will be remanded for 14 days at Kasarani Police Station as police pieced together his involvement in the daylight murder of Samuel Muvota.
Your Honor, I'm before you to make an application to have the respondent be detained in Kasarani Police Station for 14 days to enable us complete investigation, Your Honor.
The investigating officer told the court that the crime was committed by more than 2 actors and that Karani was highly suspected to have been the driver of the vehicle that was used by the shooters to flee the scene, and they have information that Karani possesses a firearm. Therefore, they need time to travel to Mombasa, Nakuru and Kiambu, where he is said to have houses, for further investigations. The suspect will appear in court on 9th of June. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court has published amended rules for the presidential election petition in the event of a presidential election petition in the upcoming general elections. The rules published in the Gazette notice dated 5th of May bars the litigants and their advocates from expressing their opinion on the merit, demerit or predict the outcome of the petition in any manner that would prejudice court proceedings until judgment is delivered. A breach of this shall amount to contempt of court. Finally, Keroche Breweries Limited Chief Executive Officer Tabitha Karanja has denied ownership of the company, saying she's just its employee. The Keroche boss revealed this in an affidavit in reply to a suit filed by a Nakuru politician seeking to bar her from contesting the Nakuru Senate seat in the August general elections, citing the company's run-ins with the Kenya Revenue Authority.
Moving on, members of parliament have faulted the Ministry of Interior for what they term as failure to curb the perennial banditry attacks in Kerio Valley and Marakwet West. The lawmakers were reacting to a statement by the chairperson of the Security Committee, Peter Mwathi, that the government will not compensate families affected by recent killings in the region.
Because he said the answer is not watertight. A response to a statement on Marakwet West killings sought by Area Member of Parliament William Kisang attracted divergent opinions from MPs who feel the government is not committed to putting an end to the perennial banditry attacks in the area.
The government has commenced the vetting and recruitment process of local NPRs to support the National Police Service. This is in recognition of the fact that local residents are more conversant with the terrain and, more importantly, that they have a greater understanding of the local dialect. Unfortunately, the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government has no vote to cater for the compensation of the affected families.
They are telling us that vetting of NBR is going on, and this is what we were told about 3 months ago. So I don't know how long does it take to do conduct.
According to the legislators, the delay by the government to redeploy National Police reservists has caused untold suffering to the people.
They removed NBR 2018 up to now, and people are being killed every week. They kill people every week. This week alone, we have lost 4 lives. A week ago, we lost about 6 lives in Marakwet East.
Bwana Spika, nafikiri ikiwa watu ya Kerio Fale wanaumia vile mambo imekuwa, kusema mpangilio inafanywa ya kufanya vetting, nafikiri hiyo ni kudhulumu wananchi wa Kerio Fale.
15 people are reported to have lost their lives in the last 2 weeks, with hundreds of livestock stolen.
If they cannot compensate, then they need to take care of the people. They need to protect our property, take care of the people.
Where we are failing in this House is the Committee of Implementation. That the Cabinet Secretary tables a response through the chair in this House, Mr. Speaker, that he has done this, he has done that. It is upon the Committee of Implementation through the chair to follow up that what actually the Cabinet Secretary has given as a response in this House is implemented on the ground.
The Ministry of Interior says plans are underway to arrest culprits and recover the stolen livestock, conduct forceful disarmament, and engage locals to intensify intelligence.
Contractors in Kakamega have been given 2 weeks to complete the construction of competency-based curriculum CBC classrooms. During a meeting with the head teachers and contractors in Kakamega, the County Commissioner John Odengo warned that stern action will be taken against those who fail to deliver classrooms by the end of the 2 weeks. More of this in the County News Roundup.
The Western Regional Director of Education, Joseph Barongo, said contractors in Kakamega, Busia and Bungoma counties are still lagging behind in the completion of CBC classrooms, asking them to expedite the process.
We have about 6% to complete. We are at around 94%. But this 6% translates into quite a number of classrooms. And we need those classrooms so that we can accommodate the children that we have gotten through the government's 100% transition.
In the Western region, only Vihiga County has completed all the CBC classrooms. Meanwhile, rehabilitation centers have raised concern over the rising cases of alcoholism and drug abuse in primary schools. Speaking at Haven Recovery Center in Eldoret, government and non-governmental organizations engaged in the fight against drug and alcohol abuse and raised concern about the type of dangerous chemicals being used to make alcoholic drinks, most of which have detrimental effects. Elsewhere, the Kenya Parents Association, human rights activists and parents are seeking justice over the suspicious death of 2 students in Nandi and Uasin Gishu. The parents insist that the students died as a result of negligence, but a letter from the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution shows that there was no evidence of negligence on the part of the school.
Kama wangataka hata roho yangu at least ipoe. Wangeniletea huyo nasi ndio hata huyo nasi nieleze wakati Peril alianza kugonjeka ilikuwa hivi na hivi na nimemsaidia hivi na hivi. Huyo nasi jamuona hata kwa macho yangu mpaka wasai.
Finally, a cross-section of parents in Embu East have appealed to corporate bodies to chip in and offer more corporate social responsibility programs to support the less privileged pupils who have not reported to school.
And almost half of the learners are Nindi. So your coming has really gone a long way in helping them achieve their education.
Fees ni jambo kubwa sana, hata siwezi jua nitoe wapi, na kwa vile wamenisaidia nimefurahia sana.
Now, maize flour, milk and bread might be exempted from tax increases as proposed by Treasury in the Finance Bill if Parliament adopts the National Assembly Finance Committee report. The committee said the three are basic commodities and any tax increment will cause inflation and reduce citizens' purchasing power. This is among a raft of tax reduction measures that the Parliament committee is seeking to scrap in the tax bill amendments.
In his budget speech earlier this year, Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani proposed a raft of tax measures that he said would assist the government to raise over 2.1 trillion shillings to fund the budget. The National Assembly now says some of the tax increases as proposed by the Treasury might be counterproductive. The National Assembly Finance Committee recommends that Treasury exempt maize and cassava flour, bread and milk from a 16% VAT increase. The Gladys Wanga-chaired committee says an increase in the price of 4 commodities, which have been increased by a combined average of 16% over the past few weeks, will greatly affect the local mwananchi. Parliament has also opposed the increase of excess duty on processed juices and proposed the excess rate be reduced to 13 shillings. Bottled water has also been spared from the tax increases, with Parliament advising the rates remain unchanged from the last financial year. The Finance Committee is also proposing the scrapping of the requirement for one to deposit 50% of the disputed tax amount prior to appealing a tax appeal tribunal decision. The committee says the requirement is unlawful and might deny justice to aggrieved entities if the disputed amount is not raised in addition to the loss of working capital.
And in sports, the Kenya national rugby sevens team has been placed in a tricky Pool B against Ireland, Argentina and South Africa for the London leg of the HSBC Sevens World Series set for this weekend. Kenya's Shujaa are currently 12th with 38 points in the series, with 2 legs left in London this weekend and Los Angeles in August.
Following a dismal performance in Toulouse where they picked up just 1 point, the Kenya Sevens team will open their campaign in London this weekend against the Flying Ireland, who reached the final in Toulouse, before playing Argentina and South Africa's Blitzboker in Pool B. Fiji headline Pool A alongside USA, Spain and Wales, while Pool C has France, Australia, New Zealand and Canada. Pool D will see Samoa, England, Scotland and Japan battle it out. Kenya's Shujaa are currently 12th with 38 points, with 2 legs remaining this season. Meanwhile, Vihiga Queens defender Phoebe Okech has been voted one of the best players in the Kenya Women Premier League. Okech was instrumental in helping the Queens of Vihiga defensively, with her outstanding performance assisting the team to the top league. Okech was instrumental in helping the Queens of Vihiga defensively, with her outstanding performance assisting the team to top the league. Head coach Boniface Nyamu was appreciative of Kefwa for the initiative, which he noted has upscaled the league's competitiveness among players. Okech walked home with a personalized trophy and 10,000 shillings. Elsewhere, this year's Eldoret Rally will be a mixed surface contest and will revolve around the iconic Cherangani Hills of the Great Rift Valley region on Saturday. Cars will be flagged off outside Rupa Mall in Eldoret, then proceed to Cheptiret Primary and lastly to St. Jacinta, which will be the last speed test and will serve as the event's power stage where the top fastest KNRC competitors will secure bonus points. Karan Patel looks forward to his 4th straight win of the season after emerging the winner in the first 3 events in Ilbisel, Nakuru and Naivasha. Finally, 270 golfers took part in the Bidco Golf Tournament at the Sigona Golf Club as the company introduced into the market a new product that helps support the immune system, the Juice Boost Plus Juice. The tournament was the 4th edition organized by Bidco, with the first taking place in 2018. Ann Kabugi was the winner of the one-day event, while Sandeep Matharu won the longest drive trophy.
That's all we had from the news desk. Thank you for keeping us company, but don't go away. I'm just tossing the ball back to Jane with the newspaper review.
All right, let me pick it up from that particular point, and we just start off with the Daily Nation. Starting with Kalonzo, Raila readies for Kalonzo's return. According to this particular daily, the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party is laying the ground for Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka's return to its fold, with plans to incorporate his allies in the presidential campaign teams being established this past Monday. Remember, the ODM, the Azimio team has a 16-team campaign strategy that has been laid out by these 16 teams, and they say that they're going to incorporate Kalonzo in those plans. Coming to the main read, critiques awarded me 2,500 acres of land. Deputy President, who is on a tour of the coastal region, was forced to confront the controversy around his 2,536 farm in Taita Taveta County, explaining that his dealings with criticals and opening himself up for scrutiny over this land dealings. And this has been a point of criticism for the Deputy President, at least where Raila Odinga is involved when it comes to the ownership of this piece of farm in Taita Taveta. I will be giving you the details as per what he said in regards to this farm. But with 76 days to go to the general elections, excuse me, Kenya Kwanza presidential running mate Rigathi Gachagua yesterday conceded that his selection as the running mate for Deputy President William Ruto has in one way or the other divided Mount Kenya. Still keeping up with politics, there is a rebellion that is brewing in Nyanza. A silent revolution is taking root in Nyanza, which is considered as Raila Odinga's backyard. And this is where smaller parties and those vying as independent candidates are involved. It is said that they are ganging up against ODM and Raila's six-piece government. When it comes to poll integrity, Deputy President William Ruto's alliance demands that the IEBC addresses 6 particular issues that it did outline yesterday, saying these issues are key when it comes to restoring the public's confidence in the independent body, in its capability to run and manage the elections come August 9th. And finally, Azimio la Umoja presidential aspirant Raila Odinga has pledged to push for permanent tax and payee exemptions for all persons living with disabilities should he be elected the next president of Kenya. Details and of all this and so much more will be coming up in just a bit. Victor.
Ruto has a slight lead in a tight race with Raila. Poll, that's according to the poll here. Ruto has a slight lead in tight race with Raila. According to the poll, Ruto has edged into a slight lead with 43.3% compared to Raila's 42.4%. Now, presidential election, it says that Kalonzo Musyoka may be the kingmaker with 4%. That is a poll which was conducted by this particular newspaper, The Star. MPs reject Unga, Boda Boda and tax beer. Details shortly. Inside Kalonzo's grand return to Raila's Azimio One Kenya coalition. Let me give you details on that. It said that details have emerged of the behind-the-scenes plans for Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka's return. That is a grand return to Raila Odinga's Azimio la Umoja movement next week. It is also established that Kalonzo, who is on a private trip to the UK, met President Uhuru Kenyatta there. And they discussed and affirmed up the decision to return to the coalition. Now, Uhuru, who is the chairperson of the Azimio's council, has repeatedly been leading the delicate talks to persuade the Wiper leader to support Raila under the coalition. So it also says that ahead of the return to Raila-led Jumbo coalition, Kalonzo and his troops have planned a series of rallies in his Ukambani backyard soon after he jets back to the country at the weekend. And at the same rally, the former vice president will announce his change of heart to his supporters and urge them to back Raila for president. That is according to Makueni MP Dan Manzo, who is a close ally to to former Vice President, that is Kalonzo Musyoka, who also revealed that Raila has also been invited to the rallies that will take place in Kitui, Machakos, and Makueni. Interesting times ahead. To that story where MPs rejected tax on unga, border, gambling, and beer, they said that this because of tough economic times. The Finance Committee of the National Assembly, chaired by Homa Bay Woman Representative Gladys Wanga, said some of the proposed amendments and measures would be counterproductive. They also shot down the bid to tax fertilizer. That is according to that. You can take a look at that story. There's a story here to livestock and even to wildlife. The drought coupled with an increase in invasive weeds are major problems facing wild animals, domestic animals, and human livelihood. This according to a research which was done by the Wildlife Research and Training Institute, which said that the invasive weeds are spreading fast in the national parks and elsewhere. So there is a threat to that, and I hope environmentalists will also take note on that. Doreen, what do you have?
Tobacco Board aims to create smoke-free health generation. This is even as the Control Board is preparing for that 2-month sensitization program. Rather, this was also mentioned yesterday in our conversation that we had with the chair, that is Nancy Gashoka, who said that in the next 2 months, they actually plan to go to all the 47 counties, whereby it's cut out in the first month, the first 24 counties, then in the second month, the remaining 23 counties. And this is just to ensure that they do proper sensitization as well as education, and most especially to teens and also young children when it comes to the effects, or better still, the adverse effects of tobacco. That is what you're waking up this morning to the People Daily. We obviously also have matters to do with politics. This is even as the IEBC did that extension to the 25th of May, which is actually by tonight, whereby all presidential candidates, and even just particularly the independent ones, need to submit all the documents, the required documents that they needed to have submitted to the IEBC. Remember that on Monday when the commission was having a meeting with the presidential aspirants, 11 were disqualified simply because they had not submitted the names of their running mate in due time. So much of also what is coming out in respect to this deadline is that particularly for independent candidates, they need to submit the 2,000 signatures from the 24 counties, in each of the 24 counties actually. So that means a total of around 48,000 signatures, and also a copy of IDs. But again, when you get the details, just be telling you about how good number of these independent candidates are complaining of some of these measures that the IEBC, just laid out for them that they need to meet before they actually get cleared and their names to appear on the ballot. Relief for Kenyans as MPs reject bill on higher taxes. You obviously also have that story just outlining some of those products in which Kenyans now will get relief as the bill was rejected at the National Assembly. We also have Kome to form bench for case seeking to bar Sonko from Mombasa race. There also was that conversation, particularly in respect to former Nairobi County Governor, that is Mike Sonko, as well as Ferdinand Waititu, given the fact that they were impeached, and also looking at the fact that they are planning to just vie for the same positions, Sonko particularly in Mombasa County. So the CJ said to form a bench to hear this case and see whether or not he will be still qualified to vie or not. And also lastly, President to lead National Prayer Breakfast tomorrow. This is an event that will be taking place tomorrow at the Safari Park Hotel, whereby it is expected about 3,000 people are actually expected to attend this annual event. This is usually an annual event, and one of those things that is also going to be looked at in this National Prayer Breakfast is obviously prayer to the country in respect to the August 9th general elections. Troy.
Yes, let's have a look at the Standard. This is how it looks like, the headline: blow as MPs reject Uhuru's new taxes. We have that story, of course, also dangers in CS openly backing Raila's bid, but we will have a closer look at those reports after this break.
What did you say?
Does my father look that terrifying? He's the avian king and will rule the world. Why doesn't Lance just accept his offer?
Get a closer look at the avian kingdom and pay attention to Sky's children.
Master!
The trials. Let's go.
Idiot!
She's the lady who was going to get married. Remember the wedding you didn't let us attend? Her fiancé's the guy who saved me from drowning.
What was Paulina doing here?
You absolutely don't deserve a woman like my mother. You are not man enough for any woman, especially not for someone like her.
Don't be ridiculous! If I really wanted your family to find out about the two of us, I would have told them ages ago. So don't blame me. You knew that this could happen. No!
Just 2 to 3 weeks. So
No,
calm down.
No, I'm not crazy. Please don't let them take me, Adrian. Don't let them. I'm not going anywhere.
Calm down.
If you love me,
Julieta,
don't let them
please,
take
Julieta,
me.
don't do this.
Don't let them
Calm
take
down,
me,
Julieta.
Thanksgiving night, the MLW World Heavyweight Championship on the line. I don't know if you noticed the deep breath coming from Ross Von Erich. He is focused. This might be the biggest match in his career. Sling Blade takes down Jacob Fatu. Ross now. Missile drop kick connecting. Ross Von Erich. Flying Ross body. Oh, come on now.
Semile's gonna chair. The referee is down.
Drop kick through the chair to Semile's head.
Ross is finally gonna get a little help. What the hell? What? Come on, Tom!
Welcome back, and let's quickly have a look at the Standard. Blow as MPs reject Uhuru's new taxes. This is one of the news items that we had for you earlier on. You can find that story on page 9, where the MPs rejected Treasury's bid to raise 51.6 billion shillings from new tax measures as contained in the finance bill, and what to be affected: maize, cassava flour, wheat flour, beer, and those who love the fiery ones, Macalli's, the spirits, betting. Proposed tax increase 10% for beer and 20% for the spirits, but MPs have rejected that, faced with re-election battle. And also, you do remember that Kenyans are reeling under the high cost of living. Still on the front page, dangers of CS openly backing Raila's bid. They are vocal, they have already taken sides, and this could prove a challenge, as now experts warn that they could be arming Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate with evidence to challenge the poll if he wins the August poll because of integrity and public trust issues. Inside, we're talking about the CS who have openly declared that they are supporting the Azimio la Umoja presidential candidate. They have been mentioned here as Cabinet Secretaries for Agriculture, Peter Munya, Ukuri Atani for Treasury, Eugene Wamalwa Defense, and also CAS Rachel Shebesh, not forgetting ICT Cabinet Secretary Joe Musheru. Something else that is on the front page is the new twists and turns in Mirema shooting drive. This is a story we have also carried earlier, is that the suspect who presented himself to the DCI, police are suspecting that he could be the one who was driving the getaway vehicle. Something else inside, talking about politics, more and more politics. Raila and Ruto beat drums of six-speed voting in strongholds, but constituent parties in both coalitions have said that they won't allow six-speed voting. Kunjuri is one of those leaders, saying that we won't accept six-piece voting. Let the people decide. Yes, that we have the presidential aspirants for the two coalitions, but when it comes to the ground, let's battle it out, despite the fact that we are in the same coalition. More on politics. Kenya Kwanza may not be an option for deterring Kalonzo. Wiper Party leader has scoffed at attempts by the Ruto and his allies to lure him, and he says that if I have to come to Azimio, we have to have structured dialogue. Of course, some of his members or some of his allies have talked about, let's go back to Azimio, because over 500 candidates also seeking the ticket in various seats who are part of the Azimio not be left in a limbo. Still on politics, High Court slaps Sonko with fresh order stopping his bid. Judge bars IBC from receiving, considering, evaluating and approving his nomination. Quite a challenge for the former governor. And he is also on around 3 or 4 petitions seeking him to be stopped from vying based on his integrity questions. And the Supreme Court pronounced itself after amending some sections of the presidential elections petition, saying that councils will not be allowed whatsoever to be discussing matters or particulars or merits of cases in that presidential election. Back to you guys.
Now let me bring you to the Daily Nation. There's an interesting story here. Drama as quote-unquote dead husband turns up in court in children's upkeep case. Yes. So this is an incident that happened yesterday in a court in Eldoret, where a woman was suing her boyfriend for upkeep of her children, and then her husband appeared in court. So the situation is she had told her current boyfriend that her husband died. And they met back in 2017, told him that the husband had died and she needed help in taking care of her 2 boys. She has 2 children. Now, this boyfriend is 70 years old, okay?
70.
So yesterday they were in court and she was suing him because she wanted the boyfriend to help her continue taking care of the children after they split up. They were together for 3 years and they separated, so they have been in court. She was suing him for upkeep, and then the father, the now original husband, showed up in court. And he was asking, I'm wondering why this woman is suing this man to take care of my children and I'm still alive. Okay? So, the woman accused her now husband, who showed up in court, of interfering with her plans to see that her children get a proper education and support from the lover, who is very capable. But this lover said that, you know, when he met her, he felt sympathy for her and decided to just, you know, they're kids, let me take care of them. And he did so. He was taking care of them, paying their school fees up until they broke up and they went their separate ways. She said that the man was so committed to her, the boyfriend, the 70-year-old boyfriend, was so committed to her to a point that he changed her children's names on their birth certificates and added his name. But this 70-year-old man refuted that, saying he cannot remember at any point doing so. And he actually went on to say he's a retired engineer, married to 3 wives with 17 children, and he was only dating this woman whom he met in 2017, and after staying together for 3 years they parted ways and he went back to his family. Then the estranged husband said, and I quote verbatim, I am ready to go back home to my wife and start taking care of my children as her husband. My entire family and her family know me as the husband. I'm even wondering why she is nagging this old man. kesi ikaishia hapo. However, the court did direct the biological father to start taking care of the children, and the next hearing is expected to be next week to give direction. And then the two men drove away from the court in one car, chatting happily.
Wait, take that again.
The husband and the 70-year-old man drove away in one car, chatting happily. Wakamwacha hapo.
Vicky, you know you've read
they
that
will
story.
embarrass you.
You know that story. That story sounded like a play, well-scripted play.
Yes.
The twist and turn in that. At some point, I thought that lady was going to be accused of false pretense and acquisition of, under false pretense and sort of. But to see, in the case of natural justice, I think the judge just looked at the scenario.
Yes.
And the gentleman said, the old man, the boyfriend, the 70-year-old boyfriend said, I sympathize with the lady and decided to take care of
the children, the boys.
children.
Yeah.
But then, the question will always be asked about the point that this gentleman left his matrimonial home. All right? Why did he leave? First of all, if you get to the root cause of that, and at what point did the boyfriend come in, and at what point did the husband, the boyfriend, exited, back to his 3 wives and 17 children. So plus 2, they were now 17, 18, 19.
Yes.
What?
But the wife actually told this her estranged husband, show the evidence that you have actually ever taken care of these kids, and he couldn't. However, on this day that she's suing this new boyfriend for upkeep for the children, he conveniently appeared in court.
Wow.
Which led her to think actually it's the old man who looked for him. And this also brings us to the story that was also on the dailies yesterday concerning former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko. He actually went on Instagram and responded to that story. He said, I'm going to paraphrase it, but it was along the lines of, if this lady is unable to take care of this kid, he welcomes her to bring the child to him. He will raise her happily because that is what her former husband did. He took away 2 other kids from her and is now raising them. Hata kama si wake biologically, he is willing to take care. Yes, let all the children come to me. He's willing to take care of this girl. And hata mtu mwingine huko nje akitaka kumsuu juu ya watoto, he welcomes all the children.
That's a smart move.
I've been in the court for around 4 years, and in as much as we do not cover family cases because of the minors involved and everything, but
protection
when it comes to succession and such kind of matters, I'm reminded of a case where a woman went to court. They were cohabiting with a man who was not the biological parent of the kids. But when they decided to part ways, she went to compel, she wants the court to pronounce itself and compel this gentleman to continue paying upkeep for these kids, despite the fact that they were not his biological.
You'd be asked a question, Troy, were they legally married, much as they were not biological?
The legal, we have so many marriages in Kenya that are recognized, including KBC.
Yes.
So if you find somebody in court, they must have done the customary, maybe the AGs or the other the well-known wedding. So she wanted the court to compel this guy to continue. Tumeachana nawe Jane, the kids are not mine, but you want me to continue paying for their upkeep. It's a pending matter in court.
But unless the courts compel him, legally, he is within his rights to refuse because he's not the biological parent of this child.
But it brings another issue because, perhaps if they've been together for like 5-10 years, these kids know this guy as the father. So they've grown up knowing that this is our father, this is the guy who pays our fees, this guy who we can all lean on when we have issues. So we want to continue on that line.
But Troy,
it's like being fired somewhere and then you still want salary from that company.
Troy,
yes.
You can own a piece of land for 100 years, but if you don't have a title deed, it doesn't belong to you.
Yes, and that's the thing, where children are involved.
Right.
Even if you are cohabiting with them and their mother, but you haven't legally adopted them, they're not biologically your children. And you're within your rights to refuse. to care for them, because you are not absconding your
parental duties.
Yeah. If anything, you are assisting.
But another issue is, if you've adopted those children, they are yours.
Yes, if you adopt them, then you are bound by the laws.
Yeah. Yes, there's a procedure of adoption. There is a procedure. One, first of all, you have to, it's a whole lot of procedure that should be followed legally. And then, first of all, again, you have to get married legally. So if you're not married, because you cannot
buy one, get one.
Yeah, I mean, it's that way. So that case, it's a delicate one, but that one,
it's a delicate one and a gray area, because there is a marriage and there is adoption. Those are two things.
Yes. And for adoption to take place, you need to have been in the child's life for at least 4 years. At least 4 years before the law can allow you to adopt this child. But we are living in a time where we are having people getting kids every single day and not really understanding you're not just having a kid.
Yeah,
you are raising a human being.
Yeah, the Sonko case, he says, bring your kid if you are unable to pay for that. A lot of women might end up doing the same thing again. Hey,
Sonko said even if they're not mine biologically.
You don't remember?
Bring them.
And he says, bring them.
That was a smart move.
Because this is a 15-year-old girl that was involved in that particular case with Sonko.
Yeah.
A story that goes back to 1999.
But funny how these things come up years later.
That's
15.
We're
talking about 15 years.
It's a matter of time. But that one, Kuru, the two gentlemen drove off.
Happily together in one car.
Yeah. Vicky. That's what we do. You see, the dudes who just fist bump and say it's okay.
Anyway, it's an interesting world.
But it's a disservice to children. Parents, we need to do better.
Yeah. Okay.
Tuendelee na the Star.
We cannot take action against politicking state officers, according to IEBC. That is, Chebukati said that due to unforeseeable developments, the agency had its powers stripped. Now, in applying the act, the chairperson said that the agency had back in 2017 formed and chaired a code of conduct committee where such issues were handled, and he continued to say that, however, he said the committee was declared unconstitutional by the High Court. So all the state officers politicking are free to do so, and there's no action that will be taken against them. That is according to IEBC Chair of Fred Matiang. And there is a big blow to the other side of the Kenya Kwanza leaders who have been calling for legal action taken against cabinet secretaries politicking after IEBC said it has no powers to enforce such electoral offenses. Moving on swiftly, public servants failed to repay mortgages for default hit 3 billion shillings, according to the audit, which says that recoverability of 397 billion shillings loaned to 15 officers in doubt. One Kenya Kwanza contract was for you, Musela tells Western, and he said that the two were back in the region, that is Musela Mudavadi and Ford Kenya leader Moses Wetangula, who barely 2 weeks ago convened residents who they said that stand to benefit from more in Kenya Kwanza alliance than is in Azimio One Kenya coalition. Man linked to Mirema killing to spend 14 days in custody. Karani is alleged to have stolen a firearm from an officer in Mombasa after dragging him. Now, there's a twist to this story. Initially, the police said that he was the shooter, and now it has turned that he was the driver of the getaway car. So the court heard that the suspect, allegedly with the deceased and others, operated an elaborate drugging syndicate to the country, and the murder of Muvota is suspected to be contributed to a deal gone sour. So he's in police custody for the next 14 days as they continue the investigation. And finally, case to bar Sonko from election to go on, says High Court. This is a case which was filed by two petitioners seeking to bar Mike Sonko from vying in the Mombasa gubernatorial seat, will continue despite one of them pulling out on April 25th. two Mombasa residents, that is Ndoro Kayuga and Jojo Dhiambo, filed a case at the High Court in Mombasa under a certificate of urgency, asking the court to bar the former Nairobi governor from vying in Mombasa. So it's a developing story, and we will see how that will pan out. Troy, what do you have on that side with the Standard?
Yeah, I want to pick it from where you've left on the Dennis Karani Gashoki, the suspect.
Right.
Yes, indeed, police had talked about he's closely linked. And at the DCI, they talked about this guy had initially sent a threatening message to the deceased. And they're trying to tie him to being among the guys that were there when the guy was shot. But the guy himself, he did surrender to the DCI, but he didn't have his phone and his identity card. And they asked why. Of course, it's a matter pending, so we'll know exactly what happens later. But still tied on the same, two more women claiming they were wives of the slain man and recorded statements as yesterday. You are told he had around seven girlfriends or wives. But now we have two more who have recorded statement on the same. We hope at least we're going to get to the bottom end of that. Some people are arguing, no, perhaps this is an extrajudicial killing. But of course, we leave it to the courts to determine that. Then there's this case of health ministry should prepare Kenyans to deal with the monkeypox. Have you seen how the international media is reporting that there are several people who have been diagnosed with the disease in Spain, UK, Italy, and even USA and Canada.
Yes.
But incidentally, they are using a photo with somebody having a dark skin.
Yes.
And
Like
it hasn't
yours.
been reported here. And the African media, African are like, men,
Victor Karakabaya leo.
in this country, what exactly is happening, you know? You
Actually,
do remember how we even took COVID, that perhaps we Africans, because it took time before it came to Africa. Now they're saying, please, let's have those photos of those people who are having that.
You know, initially, reports that were being circulated, at least in the West, is that monkeypox is prevalent in Western and Central Africa. And looking at those, and especially looking at UK, where at least the article that I read was from, they say that from all the people that were infected, only one had a history of traveling to Nigeria. And the others, they did not have any recent travel history. So they are wondering how this disease is actually in the UK, and yet it is original to, or rather heavily tied to the west and central parts of Africa. And then I think I did see that picture, and it was of a child. I don't know if it's the same one that you saw, Troy, when they were showing at least the monkeypox.
Yes.
But the strangest part is that so many countries in the West are reporting this as an outbreak, and actually the UK has put in place a 3-week quarantine for anyone who will have contracted this particular virus. And it is not common for it to jump from one human to the other, so the potential for contamination or spreading it among humans is not a major problem, but it is of concern. COVID, Ukraine war, now monkeypox. But I see your point when you say the fact that they're using a child with African descent to just highlight this monkeypox.
Yeah.
We are reading between the lines.
Okay, we also have something for farmers. Tea production dropped by 31 million kilos in a year. The Tea Board of Kenya blamed the reduction in production to climate change and revealed that the country produced 538 million kilograms compared to the 570 million kilograms recorded in the year 2020. Climate change. And of course, you know, there are around 14 counties that were in dire need of food. And this is a telltale sign that if we don't change our behaviors, we might end up being in more than 20 counties asking for foods. But I love how Kenyans have come out to help Kenyans. You remember the first drive, Kenyans for Kenyans.
Kenyans for Kenyans.
And then this other one, at least to ensure that we, all our brothers, have some food on the table. But at the end of the day, we really need to change our behaviors to ensure that climate change does not stop Kenyans or does not affect the economy further than it has already done. Something interesting I've seen also in regards to the farmers, as I wind up, is the banana paper could save potato farmers from devastating worms. Potato. Which one?
Walu.
Okay, Waru then. Scientists discover method to kill nematodes which cause 14.8 billion worth of losses every year. You do remember we had an issue when it came to potatoes here in Kenya. When we have potatoes, we have in plenty, we have a glut. But when we do not have them, then we do not have them. But this, I believe, this is a game changer when it comes to farmers and farming. Back to you guys.
All right, as we bring this segment to a close, just to touch on this story, which is the main read on the front page of the Daily Nation, concerning the ownership of this 2,500 piece of acre that belongs to the Deputy President in Coast. So yesterday, the Deputy President ended up on the controversy surrounding the 2,536-acre piece of farm in Taita Taveta. And looking at the history of his political life, we have seen Raila Odinga dwelling on the land issue and using it as part of his campaign tool to try and secure the 1.9 million vote in the coastal region. But yesterday, the Deputy President did address this matter, saying he genuinely owns this piece of land. He said that he acquired the piece of land after he helped former Taveta MP Basil to offset a loan that he owed the Agricultural Finance Corporation, and the MP just gifted him this piece of land to just express his gratitude for helping him settle this loan that he had. And now the DP uses this land where he grows maize and rears cattle at the farm. So he said that he hopes that actually settles this whole situation, because, you know, looking at the coastal region, land ownership has always been a big issue, and landlessness among the locals has always been a point of controversy, looking at the historical injustices that have been in this particular region when it comes to land ownership. Finally, 6 issues on polls Ruto camp once addressed by the IEBC. So the DP's camp called the electoral body to address 6 particular issues, which I'm going to highlight very quickly in an effort to restore the public's confidence in the independent body to actually conduct the general elections. They said, number 1, they want IEBC to make public a report by the audit firm KMPG on scrutiny of the voter register. Number 2, they want the raw certified copies of the principal voter register. Number 3, they want IEBC to make public certified copies of the specified register, which includes the voters' roll, by making sure that it includes the electoral units, the polling stations, the wards, the constituency, and the county. Make this information public. Number 4, they protested, number 3 is linked to the protest that was against the activities of Cabinet Secretaries Fred Matiang and Joe Musheru. Number 4, they demanded the assurance that the executive will not interfere with IEBC's job. Number 5, to clarify clarity from IEBC on how the polling stations will accommodate all the expected agents given the high number of aspirants. And number 6, they want IEBC to assure that they will be giving a blow-by-blow account of the electoral process, from voting, tallying, and the final result. You can be able to read more of that on this particular daily. Victor.
Yes, tucheze kidogo before we wind up. In sports quickly, Kipkurgut, Kipruto, and Obanyala to lead Kenyans at Unhalt Meet tonight. That is former world under 21,500 meters silver medalist Boaz Kipkurgut, 2-time world indoor 800 meters champion Collins Kipruto, and Africa 100 meters record holder Ferdinand Omanyala will lead Kenyans at the 24 International Meeting in Anhalt, Germany tonight. So it's an action that will be mouth-watering, so to say, and results will be out tomorrow. Further afield, Ten Hag looks ahead. He says that the new Red Devils boss sees Ronaldo goals as part of United future. He's the new boss, actually, who is going to take charge at the Manchester United. New Manchester United manager Erik Ten Hag says that Cristiano Ronaldo is part of his plans for the club, ending speculations over the Portuguese forward's future. So according to him, Ronaldo is part of Manchester United. And finally, Stars Wars persist Shikanda defense Amina as CAF kicks Kenya out of AFCON qualifiers. Now, Kenyans should exercise a great deal of patience as Sports Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohamed seeks a lasting solution to the wars bedeviling the local football scene. AFC Leopards, that is Honcho, Daniel Shikanda has said. Of course, there was some kind of measures which were put in place, and again, CAF disqualified Harambee Stars from the Africa Cup of Nations because of such a stand. That is what is on the spot. All right, tumalizia hapo na mchezo. Tumefanya kazi na tumecheza kidogo. Thank you so much for watching. We value your valid company. My name is Victor Lo.
Sasa ndio masomo inaja officially.
Hey, Kenyanchui, do you have an extra laptop I can borrow from you?
Yani, hapa tuko biashara wewe unaongelea mambo ya kubolo. Kubolo no, lakini kununua iko sawa sawa.
Wait, Julia, you mean there's a school where people are taught how to bleach?
Kamenem. Emojis are those two little icons, the colored ones, normally on WhatsApp or text messages. So, where was I?
Hapo kwa pa. Well, that was the other unfinished story. This is another one.
So 17 engagement parties, and none of them is yours. Julia, I ask again. Uone sida hapo.
Classmates, every Saturday on KBC.
Thanksgiving night, the MLW World Heavyweight Championship on the line. I don't know if you noticed the deep breath coming from Ross Von Erich. He is focused.
This might be the biggest match in his career.
Sling Blade takes down Jacob Fatu. Ross now. Missile drop kick connecting. Ross Von Erich. Flying Ross body.
Oh, come on now. Semile's gonna chair. The referee is down.
Drop kick through the chair to Semile's head.
Ross is finally gonna get a little help. What the hell? What? Come on, Tom!
Years are gone by since the 1982 aborted coup that had targeted to overthrow President Moi from office. Lieutenant General Lazarus Sumbeyo and his late brother Elijah Sumbeyo, then the presidential escort commander, played a critical role in securing President Moi and quelling the attempted coup.
In 1982, I was posted to the Air Force. I was then at the rank of major. I was promoted to a lieutenant colonel and was in charge of personnel.
Before cockcrow on the fateful August 1st, General Lazarus received a call from his late brother Elijah Sumbeyo, who was then the presidential escort commander.
So at 5 o'clock in the morning, he rang. And you know, that time there were no mobiles. We were using telephone. So I picked the phone and he said, "Are you still sleeping?" I said, "Yes, I'm still sleeping." He says, "No, don't sleep. The government has gone." I said, "Gone with who?"
General Lazarus then took off for State House immediately, together with 6 armed military soldiers.
I went to Cabernet, to the State House first, and then to Kabarak. And at Kabarak, I found Mzee very agitated.
When he got there, he immediately asked to communicate with the police headquarters, a thing that did not happen.
They say Nanyuki is not friendly. So I told him, "Let's get out of this house. We can be bombed." He said, "No, I will die in my house."
Mzee Moi refused to leave his State House aboard, but eventually convincing and relocating the president in 3 civilian cars with presidential escorts armed to the tooth.
My idea at that time was to connect with the military because they have a system of radios that used to join. We could join into any communication system. But unfortunately, one of the vehicles, the relay system, had an accident in Timboroa, and so we could not relay.
The army eventually neutralized the coup, and the president was taken to State House, Nairobi, where a presidential address had been planned for the President Moi to assure the country he was in charge.
Nataka niseme kwamba yale yaliyotokea leo asubuhi kwa muda mfupi iliyoletea wananchi wasiwasi mwingi sasa imeangamizwa na jeshi letu la nchi kavu na polisi.
From 1997 to 1999, Sumbeyo served as special envoy to IGAD for the Sudan peace process.
I want us to be patient. The parties have promised us that they will sign it today.
I knew a little bit of what was going on. So in 1997, out of the blue, the late President Moi appoints me an ambassador and a special envoy. Not retired from the military, but given this job of carrying out mediation for the Sudanese.
General Lazaro Sumbeyo was the chief mediator of the Naivasha peace process, which sought to resolve the war between the Sudanese government and the Sudan People's Liberation Movement. In July 2002, he led the warring parties into signing the Machakos Protocol, a groundbreaking agreement on the difficult issues of self-determination for the South and separation of religion and state.
Put in a lot of nights without sleep and going to lengths to ensure that the people of that country got peace.
Lieutenant General retired Sumbeyo joined the Kenya Army in 1967 as a cadet officer.
My father had always wanted one of his sons to be in the army. Because my father himself was in the army in 1922 to 1934. And he wanted a son to feel how the army is.
Sumbeyo attended the prestigious Royal Military Academy Sandhurst and rose through the ranks to become the commander of the Kenya Army in 2000.
In 1999, I went to do my master's in international relations in Royal College of Defense Studies. When I came back to the army, I found a very different army, an army that had already deteriorated in discipline. They had lost touch with training, and so I had to think of how to revive this army.
At the time of his appointment, the armed forces was in the flux of changes initiated by the then Chief of General Forces, General Daudi Tonje.
By the time I left the army, it had trained. The army had proper equipment, had proper uniforms, and that's what a soldier is. And discipline had returned.
In addition to purpose and confidence, Sumbeyo brought another critical factor with him as army commander. He brought the army back to basics.
Soldiers were in tatters. They were not the uniform they were wearing. Were torn and of low quality. And the boots were wearing were coming off, the heels were coming off. So nobody was serious about proper equipment.
Lieutenant General Sumbeyo was, in addition to being feared, deeply respected. Hence, he was referred to as ZT or Zulu Tango, meaning zero tolerance.
You must have heard the stories about the army, because when I was in the army, I had a nickname called Zulu Tango, zero tolerance. Officers in the army can attest that I think I made a difference. There was reform, total reform in the army.
Reporting for KBC from Lavington in Nairobi County, Amnesty Imano.
News done, in the headlines done. Time for us to get on with our fast conversation this Wednesday morning. Our focus being on neglected tropical diseases, trying to better understand what kind of diseases are this and why they get that connotation, neglected. My guest is already here, Wycliffe Omondi, who is the head of vector-borne and neglected tropical diseases at the Ministry of Health, will be helping us unpack all this. Karibu sana to the program.
Asante sana.
Now, let's just start by first understanding what neglected tropical diseases are.
Thank you so much, Doreen, for hosting me in this conversation. Neglected tropical diseases is a group of diverse conditions. And the WHO has listed, World Health Organization has listed about 20 diseases under the umbrella of neglected tropical diseases. Now, the diseases are given the name neglected because for a long time they've not been prioritized in very many levels. So again, the diseases affect mainly the poor, but I would use that term poor selectively, because at times you will find that there are those others that do not look at the economic status of individual. Again, as the name suggests, they are mostly found within the tropical belt of the world. So Kenya, Africa, and many other continental countries that are lying within the tropical belt of the globe are affected by these conditions. They affect many people globally. Close to 2 billion people are affected by these neglected tropical diseases. If we narrow down to Kenya, more than half the population of the country is at risk of these diseases. So probably maybe just to highlight out of the 20 neglected tropical diseases, how many are in Kenya.
All right, and we'll just get to that in a bit as we continue apace with this conversation. But let's retract a bit. And you've mentioned that term neglected simply because also it has that sort of quote unquote, yes, you mentioned it's selective, but a preserve of the poor. I mean, just aside from that, is that the only factor that makes us to describe this kind
medicines that probably will not be bought by the poor people, so they will not break even. So there is low research into these particular diseases. Again, that is what is making them termed as neglected. Number two, not all, but majority have got less severity in terms of the symptoms that they express.
All right.
So even at individual level, you may be impacted by these diseases, but because the severity is less, you just neglect it. So you continue with your daily chores, doing every routine, but the impact, the long-term impact is massive. So those are some of the factors that contribute to the term being neglected.
So clearly there's obviously other underlying factors underneath the fact that we could refer to them as neglected. Now, let's come a bit to try and understand why, there's so much in the African continent, and also in Latin America, in Asia. But what is so peculiar about Africa as a continent that you'd find quite a number of these diseases just, inhabiting the African continent?
So, as I indicated first, the diseases are within the tropical belt of the globe. So it's not only in Africa. You'll find it also in other global parts of the country that lie within the tropic. Most African countries are within the tropical belt. If you go to Asia, you will find it also going across the continent stretches across the tropical belt, South America as well. So those are the countries that are outside the belt are not impacted by these diseases. So by the virtue that we are located within the tropics, then that means that we will be impacted by quite a number of these conditions that have been listed among the neglected tropical diseases. But of course, we cannot run away from the fact that most African countries are still developing. And some of the risk factors for acquiring these conditions is poor hygiene condition, and that is cutting across many African countries. Environmental conditions are not very conducive, so they enhance the thrivement of this particular condition. So I think the fact that investment towards those areas have not been very massive as in the developed world, then you will by correlation, then you will find the magnitude of neglected tropical diseases affecting many of the African countries.
All right. Now, you talked about close to 2 billion globally. Narrowing down to Kenya, talking about half of our population, 25 million, who are at risk of getting the neglected tropical diseases. I know you've touched on the fact that, it's given less priority, but looking at these figures and statistics, and also looking at those factors that you mentioned, the less priority, lack of proper funding, unlike the likes of HIV, malaria, and TB. So is there a likelihood of these numbers increasing? Because we can't also not be alive to the fact that it is there. This disease is actually with us.
Yes, if you sit down and do nothing, then obviously the numbers will go up. But the government of Kenya, through the Ministry of Health, is working towards reducing these particular numbers that we are talking about. And in the next 10 years, probably we'll not be talking about the 25 million. We may be benchmarking with the other developed world in terms of elimination, and just moving from the control status to a state where we'll be free of these neglected tropical diseases. So the bottom line is that if you don't initiate any interventions to control, then obviously you will see the numbers rise.
So there's actually hope at the end of the day.
Yes.
So in your perspective, do you think there's really enough sensitization being done in terms of also creation of awareness, also just for Kenyans to understand what kind of diseases are this and how they could be at risk of getting such kind of diseases?
Awareness is low of this particular disease, and that is why I said because the severity in terms of symptom is less, so at a personal level we may not be aware that we are affected with this.
So even as a person you wouldn't know?
You wouldn't know. So they set up, you don't know, but the impact is what you see later when it is already caused damage in you. So I would say that awareness is very low, except for areas where we've initiated some of the intervention. That is where maybe the awareness levels are high, but generally the awareness of these diseases is low in the country. Yes.
So we can agree that obviously that now it means that we need to do more in terms of this question of awareness.
Very true.
And sensitization.
There's a need to enhance advocacy, community mobilization and sensitization, so that the people are aware of what are the risk factors, how can they prevent these diseases, so that we minimize also the numbers that we are talking about.
All right, well said. Now, 20 of these diseases are actually unique to us as a country, amongst a possible host of other kinds of neglected tropical diseases. Perhaps what kind of diseases are these that are unique to us as a country, also just for viewers to understand, and why so?
So thank you for that question. I want to say that out of the 20 listed entity, the list keeps on growing. When I joined the
so instead
program,
of like reducing, it
yes,
just
it keeps on increasing. Depending on how people advocate for the conditions, they add them to the list of the NTDs. I started knowing the NTDs when they were 12, they grew to 17, and by 2018 they added another 3. Now we are at 20, so probably tomorrow you may find it the list has grown to more than 20.
So it means you're really doing badly.
Yes, there are conditions that are very neglected. So depending on how the teams lobby at the global level, then they add them to the list of NTDs. So I want to say that out of the 20, only one is not regionally in Africa, and that is called Chagas disease. That is restricted in South America. So the 19 possibly are endemic in Kenya. And just maybe to highlight which are these 19 that are possibly in Kenya. So I want to start on a positive note that the country managed to eliminate one of these neglected tropical diseases called drunculiasis. The common name is guinea worm. In the year 2018. We were certified by WHO in 2018. So there's a possibility that we are able to reduce these conditions by the year 2030, in the next 10 years. So that one we've done away with, but it was endemic in the country. I want to help us know the diseases maybe from the public point of view, from the ones that are now not very much prevalent, and maybe to the ones that are now very much prevalent in the country. So the first one I'll be talking about is called human African trypanosomiasis.
This is not as much prevalent.
That is, yes, that is the name, but the common name is called sleeping sickness. So sleeping sickness was endemic in the western parts of the country. It's caused by an insect called tsetse flies. So it bites you just the way mosquito bites you and transmit malaria, the same way tsetse fly bites you and transmits the sleeping sickness. So in the last 10 years, we've not reported any case of human African trypanosomiasis in the endemic sites in the Western, and the country is looking towards certification of being free of this neglected tropical disease. The next one that probably we are in a better position to eliminate is called onchocerciasis. Onchocerciasis is also called river blindness. Again, it is an insect-borne disease transmitted by an insect called simulium flies. So these flies breed in fast-flowing rivers. So those fast-flowing rivers were also again in the Western region. I know that will bring also these NTDs, they have domains where they are. So your NTD may not be, the NTD in Western may not be the NTD in the coastal region. And those in the coastal region may not probably those in the northeastern region. So the Western region was also endemic of this river blindness. Again, in the last 20 years, we've not seen any symptomatic case. And through the Ministry of Health, we are seeking for being certified free of river blindness. So that brings us to 3 of the possible 19. What may come also in your mind is leprosy. Is also listed among the neglected tropical diseases. And leprosy is a disease of ancient disease.
All right, just hold it right there. We'll come to continue unpacking, this, the different tropical diseases, those unique to us as a country, and also understanding where at least 3 are down. But I want us to just take a very quick breather. When we circle back, we continue a pace with our conversation. Time for that breather. Stay with us.
Tarehe 28 Mei, barabara zote zinaelekea Harris Tavern, Nairobi. Manake kutakuwa na kongamano kubwa sana la rumba siku hiyo. Kikosi kizima cha Bridge Over Congo kimeandaa tamasha kali sana kwa nyinyi wapenzi wa muziki wa rumba.
Oh yes, there will be lots of fun. Talk of nyama choma, lots of drinks, lots of giveaways from KBC, and not forgetting to mention rumba music with DJ Walter. Oh, and did I mention that there'll be free t-shirts for the first 100 people.
Nitakuwa siku hiyo. Tafuta sheri. Kama una sheri, omba sheri. Nitakuwa your host Simeon Mfumo with my running mate
Winnie Marie Jose. Yay!
What did you say?
Does my father look that terrifying? He's the avian king and will rule the world. Why doesn't Lance just accept his offer?
Get a closer look at the avian kingdom and pay attention to Sky's children.
Master!
The trials. Let's go.
Idiot!
Mama ameniambia kuwa utakutoka chumbani kwa sababu unaogopa Kate. Is that true?
I don't see Kate again.
You've really disappointed me.
Mimi nadhani kuwa yeye yuatumiwa na Kate. Ni kama utaniharibia ndoa yangu.
Na sifanyi hivi eti kwa sababu nataka. Ni shida mwenzako. Nataka unchunguzie babangu.
Nani? Kombo.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. This is still Good Morning Kenya. We are still talking about the neglected tropical diseases, and you can obviously be part of this conversation. Shoot whatever questions or clarifications you might be having concerning this NTDs. My guest is definitely still here and he will be answering those questions in a few. Now, before we took that break, we're still trying to understand the 20 that are unique to our country. You talked about the one that you've managed to eradicate. You're just trying to explain to us the 19 still existing, and you are on leprosy.
Yes. So I don't know what comes to your mind when you talk about leprosy, but
the time during Jesus' time.
Yes, it brings back the Bible, and if it was in the Bible times, it's still existing to date, then it tells you that there have been no priority to eliminate such kind of disease that we are able to eliminate. So leprosy still exists, but the country stands a better chance to eliminate it also amongst by 2030. The fifth neglected tropical diseases that probably most will associate but may not know whether it is neglected tropical diseases is called rabies. Rabies is caused by a bite from rabid dogs. So that is also listed among the neglected tropical diseases.
So let me just interject there, because it means that sometimes someone can be bit by a dog and they just take it like nothing happened, but it may actually end up having severe consequence in the future.
Yes, if you don't get intervention, then the consequences, you will die.
Is that serious?
It's that serious.
All right.
Yes. The sixth neglected tropical diseases that is endemic in the country is called lymphatic filariasis or elephantiasis. Just a brief background, the Ministry of Health has conducted mapping exercise of this condition, and it was only of public health importance in the coastal region. We've done quite a lot of interventions in the coastal region, and you can prevent this by giving community some preventive tablets on a yearly basis, so that to reduce transmission. It's caused also by mosquito bites. So we are looking towards elimination by 2027. The other one is called the blinding trachoma. Blinding trachoma is in arid and semi-arid, so you can see now we are moving from coast western to northeastern. And also parts of the Rift Valley majorly. The government has done tremendous work in providing preventive medicines in these communities, and we've stopped treating in 7 out of the 12 endemic counties, and we are now treating only in 5. And we anticipate to stop treatment by next year.
Okay.
The 8th neglected tropical disease is called soil-transmitted helminths. It's commonly referred to as intestinal worms, and this is the one that impacts majority of Kenyans, over 25 million in over 27 counties.
This is the most dominant one.
Yes. And probably maybe, as you asked, how is awareness? Maybe the question you will not answer it, when was the last time you dewormed yourself? And if you say no, then probably from a point of knowledge, if you've never dewormed maybe in the last 1 year, or you can't remember, how about that poor person? So that tells you the magnitude of this disease. So that is the 8th and most prevalent neglected tropical disease in the country that impacts education. It impacts on the development of children and also on the economy overall. The 9th neglected tropical diseases that the ministry is working closely towards its control is called schistosomiasis or bilharzia. Again, bilharzia is mostly in the lake region, the western parts. We see pockets in Rift Valley, central parts near Mwea, lower eastern, and the coastal region. That is where we see bilharzia. So two forms exist, the intestinal bilharzia and also the urogenital bilharzia, the one that the only evidence you can see is when you urinate blood. That is the outcome. But the intestinal, most of the times we don't look at our stool, so you can't say whether you're impacted, but for the urinary one, probably you can see.
You can see it.
The 10th neglected tropical diseases that the ministry is closely working towards its control is called leishmaniasis or Kala-Azar. Again, this one is in arid and semi-arid, transmitted also by very small insects called sandflies that bites you and transmit this disease. The two forms, one is called visceral leishmaniasis. It affects the internal organs. And there's another one that is called cutaneous leishmaniasis. It leaves you with very dented patches on your face or any area that is affected. Very stigmatizing. So you look at the photos of those who have recovered, then you will see permanent scars on them. Probably you are aware of the duo called dengue and chikungunya. This one is also a mosquito-borne disease. Circulation of viral in nature, transmitted by mosquitoes, but the circulation, antibody circulation has been reported in all regions of Kenya, but we see upsurge in the coastal and northeastern parts of the countries where we have Aedes mosquitoes predominantly abundant in those areas. So those 11, you find that the program is very active on those particular 11.
In terms of eradicating them?
In terms of elimination and interventions geared towards control and elimination. Now, there are also those others that have been reported, but we don't have a very clear picture of their distribution in the country. So there's one called echinococcus or hydatid disease. It's been reported in Turkana. And we also have another one called foodborne trematodiasis. Maybe what comes in your mind, one example is tapeworm. I don't know, the last time when I was growing up, they used to say they pull some worms outside. People's walking, those who used to wear shorts, they could pull those worms. So we don't have a very clear burden distribution of foodborne trematodiasis in the country. We've got reported cases of cysticercosis, and in most western parts of the country, again, where they feed on pork products, not well cooked, so you find that it affects your nervous system, so you fall down, so they cause more or less like epilepsy. So most people call it epileptic, that is what they associate it, but there's components of cysticercosis in those areas. The 15th NTD is called scabies and other ectoparasites, and one of the ectoparasites that come into your mind is probably jiggers. As part of the NTDs, and maybe now when it goes to the poor, you know what happens in that particular NTD. The 16th that was added in the year 2017, because of low prioritization, is snakebite envenoming.
So also this is part of those
of the neglected tropical diseases. So I was talking about if you're bitten by a snake, where will you get the antivenom? How accessibility, affordability. So those are some of the issues surrounding the neglected tropical diseases. We also have one called mycetoma. We don't know its distribution, Buruli ulcers, yaws, Those ones we don't know their distribution. So that gives you a list of mostly, they could be probably be around, but we don't know quite well their distribution.
Okay, and I think it was so important for you to just keep breaking down for us, because the way we began this conversation, we said one of those things that is lacking is the creation of awareness. We don't even know they are there with us. So trying to better explain to us bit by bit and listening to perhaps how you will know even when you get it, it becomes very important. Now, even as you're going around with that, you're talking about areas of Western region, coastal region. I've not had anywhere where we've talked about Central, Eastern, and I don't want to say that I want those places to also be on the statistics. But what is so different about the Western region and the coastal region that a good number of these diseases would be found in such areas?
So it does not mean I said that bilharzia is found in Central.
Okay. But largely it's around Western and coastal. Yeah,
so one of the things that makes Western coast is the climatic and environmental condition that makes it easier for this parasitic infection to thrive.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, so it's just because of the climatic conditions around that area.
Sure.
All right. The global summit that is happening between 30th and 1st. Talk to us about that.
To create awareness of these diseases, both government together with other partners are working together to achieve both control and elimination.
Okay.
So on 30th to 1st of June, we'll be having a learning summit to just picture what is it that we've achieved in the last 10 years for the control of these neglected tropical diseases. Of course, we'll not be talking about 4 of them. Out of the list I've given, there are those that I give you medicines you're able to prevent. So they are called preventive chemotherapy, neglected tropical. So those are the ones that we are going to talk about. What is it? What has been our journey in the last 10 years?
All right.
Now, what is the picture looking like between now and the year 2030? WHO launched its strategic plan for neglected tropical diseases 2021-2030, and it calls for endemic countries at least to eliminate 1 neglected tropical disease within that period. But you can see, as I've enumerated, Kenya will stand a possibility of eliminating about 6. Minimum we are giving ourselves is 4. So out of those 4, there are about 2 preventive chemotherapy that we want to see what is our roadmap between now and 2030.
Okay.
The third objective of the Learning Summit is to see how we can collaborate with various leaders to enhance advocacy for these neglected tropical diseases with an aim to tap into domestic resource for sustainability of the interventions that we are doing. The fourth one is to see how we can integrate these interventions. Most of them have been campaign-based. They are not more of integrated within the mainstream ministry activities. So how can we mainstream them, and how can we expand the collaboration in cross-cutting issues?
All right, so clearly it's going to be a holistic summit there. And also there's that plan to eradicate these diseases or end them by 2030. I know this is a plan by the End Fund, and the Vice President was supposed to be here, but she hasn't made it. But perhaps you can also just make us understand just a bit, how is this going to be possible? We're talking about perhaps 7 to 8 years before we get to that time of the year 2030. Is there strategies, framework in place for this?
Yes, there are strategies and frameworks that are in place. Despite the list being long,
yeah, because it is.
There are strategies to achieve control as well as elimination.
Okay.
The Ministry of Health has launched almost 2 strategic documents for control and elimination. There's one for 2011-2015, there's one that expired in 2020, and we are currently coming up with 2022-2027. And there are also some other disease-specific ones from the bigger. When you have the document for 20, you can't articulate the issue for one disease. So because of the specific nature, we have one that is dealing with what's called Breaking Transmission Strategy 2019-2023.
Okay.
And we also have one for leishmaniasis 2021-2025.
Right.
So, and we also have a guideline for prevention and management of snakebite and venoming. So the ministry has got tools on how we want to move towards 2030 roadmap.
Clearly, so is a laid down structure to see how we can actually end these entities.
Yes. So, and of course, you can't do it alone. That is why now you have partnership with the End Fund and other partners to help us accelerate and achieve the targets that we've set.
All right. And this will be a disservice if we don't talk about the kind of population it might affect. Even as we wind down this conversation, we want to understand very quickly, in the demographics that we have, which population does this diseases really affect the most?
Again, it will be disease specific.
Or depending with the type of disease.
So for example, if I say lymphatic filariasis is transmitted by mosquito, it doesn't disregard any age.
All right.
If I have a parasite and I bite you, whether you are a child or you are
an adult,
you get infected. Soil transmitted helminthintestinal worm, it doesn't regard. I give you money with the eggs of these worms, you ingest, it doesn't describe whether you are an adult or children, but you will find that there's certain cohort that are mostly impacted. For example, intestinal worms, mostly children, but does not mean that adults are spared either. Yes.
So it just depends with the kind of disease you're talking about, then it defines the kind of population.
The kind of the population
it might affect.
Yes.
Lastly, what would be your clarion call to particularly stakeholders? I mean, just looking at how you have enumerated this entire conversation, it clearly shows that yes, we could be there, but we still have a long way to go in eradicating entities.
My clarion call would be that we work together as a team to ensure that we achieve our goal for control and ultimately eliminate these conditions. Otherwise, we cannot work alone as an entity to achieve those particular goals. So it is good to come together as a team to achieve the goals that have been highlighted in the ministry, which also align to the global goals, so that we can help the community members get rid of these diseases that impact them.
Good place to end it. Working as a team, it is. All right, I've been speaking to Wycliffe Omondi, who is the head of vector-borne and neglected tropical diseases at the Ministry of Health, obviously talking to us about this kind of diseases and what you and I can do to see how best we can eradicate entities altogether. Good place to end this conversation. Still more coming up after this break.
Gadhu Mbugua almaarufu prosecutor kwenye kipindi Ukipendacho Vioja Mahakamani kwenye runinga ya KBC Channel 1 anaomba usaidizi wako kudhibiti gharama ya matibabu ya figo. Jamaa na marafiki wameandaa mchango mnamo tarehe 11 mwezi ujao wa 6 kwenye ukumbi wa Charter Hall, jumba la City Hall jijini Nairobi. Waweza kutuma mchango wako kwa paybill number 247247, nambari ya akaunti 777626. Gibson amekuwa mwanani wako na wangu kwa muda usiopungua miaka 40 sasa. Ni zamu yetu nasi tuwe wandani wake wakati huu mgumu.
That's what I...
All right, we do apologize for that, but nonetheless, we continue with this segment, and this is Women at the Forefront, all about women, all about breaking that glass ceiling and going forth as women. Remember, we are still using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. Our official station handle is at KBC Channel 1. My handle is at Jane Wamboi. We welcome you to be part of this conversation. Check in and do let us know where you're watching us from this morning. So today in studio, we have the pleasure of having one Vivian Owino, who is the co-founder of Frankie's Foundation and also an MCA aspirant. Good morning.
Good morning.
Karibu sana, Good Morning Kenya.
Asante.
How can our viewers find you on the social media platforms?
How you can find me on social media, my personal account is Vivian Owino. Political, it's Honorable Vivian Owino. Work is Frankie's Foundation.
I like the clear boundaries between the different aspects of your life.
Yes.
And I want us to start with you as a person, Vivian Owino. Tell us a bit about yourself before we get to the foundation and conclude on the political bit.
Okay, so, as I said, Vivian Owino, I'm 26 years old. I'm the co-founder of Frankie's Foundation. And I'm a lady who grew up in Kayole. So that's my motivation behind Frankie's Foundation.
Yes.
And why I'm supporting women at the moment. So I have a background in business management and ICT hardware, specifically hardware. I chose hardware because so many women are crammed in the software part of it,
yes.
But hardware is kind of male dominated. So I decided to get into the hardware field because it's more interesting and fun for me repairing these phones and laptops.
Yes.
So that's what I do.
All right. And
Yes.
now that actually brings me to Frankie's Foundation. You said it is in line with what you're doing in the ICT space. But where did the idea to set up Frankie's Foundation even come from?
Okay, the idea to set up Frankie's Foundation is it all came from, the idea started from where we came from, myself, the co-founder and the founder, because we all grew up in very humble backgrounds. I grew up in the slums of Kayole. The founder, Franklin Ojambo, grew up in the slums of Madare. So growing up there, me being a youth and a woman at the same time, I faced challenges that I still see people from where I came from still face, which is unemployment and sometimes, most of the time, most of my friends even didn't finish high school. Not even to talk of, some of them didn't even finish primary school. So there's this challenge that women are facing out there, especially those who dropped out of school because of lack of education. So you can't find a job anywhere. It's so unfortunate that right now our country focuses so much on certificates. What your certificate says, what degree did you have? That is what we are being labeled with. But now us sitting down and starting Frankie's Foundation, because now we have these skills. These skills is what brought us from where we were, from that, I can say, poverty, from poverty. Now I'm able to do something with my own hands and earn a living. You see, if we can both do it, then somebody else from the same place can still do it without us looking at the level of education, which school did you go to, but we believe in you, the person. As long as you have the interest, then this idea of starting up Frankie's Foundation and training these women, because now, as I said earlier, ICT hardware is male dominated. So we wanted to bring in women, because if I can do it, and I remember years back, even in 2019, it's just some few years back, I could repair and somebody stands next to me and say, hey, ni wewe unaweza fanya hii kweli? Uko sure unafanya? Then I'm like, yeah, you stand there and watch me do it. So it's like it was amusing for so many people, especially men. Like, how can you do this? You're beautiful. You're not supposed to be wearing dust coats.
Yeah.
And I said, women are not just meant to sit at the reception and welcome guests and do what. You see, sometimes do something fun.
And, you know, looking at the fact that you now heavily focus on women and women empowerment and bringing more of them into this tech space, what are you doing to sort of change this perception around tech and women, and even just looking at the whole STEM space? You find, again, as you rightfully say, it's male dominated. Yes, there are women, but there is this perception that since it's male dominated, let it stay that way because it's hard work and it's only for men. What are you doing to change this perception with your foundation and the women that you're working with?
With my foundation, first of all, I started by myself. I started showing these women that it can be done. I'm a woman just like you, and I am doing it. I'm now a computer engineer. I can do it. So it's not hard. It's all about changing your mindset that you can do it. And the good thing is that right now everything has gone digital. You see, almost everybody has a smartphone. So just trying to show them, how marketable this is. You see, we all have smartphones. Very soon, everybody is going to own a laptop.
Yes.
You see, so this is a field that I'm trying to tell these women, this is a field that we need to get into as fast as possible. We be the first ones, because so many people are...
Is there.
Yeah, the potential is there. There is money in it. You see, as long as you do your work perfectly and you know, you see, kazi utanifanyia, that's what I will tell somebody else. I'll refer somebody else to you. So I'm trying to change their mindset in the sense that it's not hard, we can do it, and this is the thing right now, technology. So if we jump right into it, and hapo mbele kutakuwa sawa.
No one is left behind.
Yeah, no one is left behind.
Maybe you could just even give us a real life example from your own life, given the journey you have gone through. As you've already mentioned, some guys, when they bring in their gadgets to get repairs here and there, they already have this perception about you. Kwanza kama ni wewe, are you the receptionist? Are you the one who's taking the gadgets? Na upeleke fundi. How has your personal experience been interacting now with the population, being a woman in this tech space?
My personal
pros and cons.
Okay, my personal experience has been both good and sometimes I can say discouraging.
Yeah.
Because some people are so mean, and we're still struggling with men accepting that women can also do what men can do. You see, so I'm still struggling with that. Some people are like, wow, you can do it, then that's cool. It's so cool to some people seeing a woman doing this type of thing. So the experience has been all round, you see, but I'm learning to deal with it. Other women that are coming into the foundation are learning to deal with it. The good thing is right now it seems like a cool thing that a woman can do it. You see, inaonekana it's wow, it's a cool thing, which in some countries it's very normal that women can do these things.
Fantastic. Again, if you are a woman and you are in the tech space, we'd absolutely love to hear from you, and especially so in regard to this discussion, just trying to change the perception and the mindsets that people have, or the society has put in place when it comes to women and the tech space. We always say that the social, humanitarian subjects are what, and areas of profession are what are, biologically designated for women, and this tech, the whole STEM space is for our counterparts, our male brothers. But then again, it is an industry as it is. So if you are in this field, we'd absolutely love to hear from you, your experiences. Use the hashtag #GoodMorningKenya on Twitter. Now, let me come back to this conversation. Now, you found your way out. You were able to set up this foundation with your co-founder, and the experience of setting up this organization in itself, it's a not-for-profit organization.
Yes.
How has that been, and especially looking that it's still a business?
Setting up the foundation itself was not an easy thing. It was very difficult. As you know, in our country, when you're dealing with now this government and you're chasing after papers, so it took us almost, it's a whole process. It took us like, I think 1 year to finally get our certificates. Now we get our licenses as a foundation. We are now allowed to run as a foundation. So the whole process was not easy, and the main reason for starting Frankie's Foundation is we were looking at our sisters back where we've left them, and we started up a non-profit organization where we train them for free. We are not asking them for anything. So they come into the foundation. We, as the foundation, give them the skills,
the whole training.
Yeah, the whole training free of charge. So the training takes 2 months and a 1 month attachment. So it's basically like 3 months. We are basing our training purely on practicals. We are tired of theory. We are tired of theory because that is what we've been doing in schools. And if there's anybody out there who went to the universities, there are those classes we didn't even attend. Yeah. So you just do your thing, and at the end of the day, umepata your certificate.
Yeah.
You see, so we didn't want such a thing. We were two people who were thinking differently. Because myself, I hated writing notes. And I could just get tired of writing. You write them and you don't read them. You see, so we are coming up with something practical. And MACU, our target group is the vulnerable women. And you see, when you say vulnerable, some of them have not even gone to school. Some of them dropped out of class 6, class 8, so their English is not even that good. When you start ukianza kuambia some very difficult terms within a laptop, then somebody gets bored. So we wanted it to be very practical, and that's why we customized the course to a 2-month course, and it is the basic, what you need to know. We don't teach you what you don't need to know. The X, Y's and the what that we don't read now, we don't even see them anywhere. So if your screen is broken, then we will teach the student how to replace this screen. You see, it will not even take you an hour to master how I can replace this screen, how to remove it, how to take another new screen, how to replace it. So it's a very unique foundation. I think in East and Central Africa, it's one of the uniquest foundation that our foundation is on skill development in ICT hardware. Our long-term goal is to bring in other skills, not just ICT, but we can have other skills because people are interested in different things. So so that we can accommodate everyone.
More people.
Yes, we can accommodate more people.
All right. Now, you've mentioned that you are specifically targeting the vulnerable parts of women of the population specifically. How do you actually just reach out to them and make this information available to them so that they know, okay, there's this 2-month course here that I can do and then an additional month for training? How do you get this information to them?
We do a lot of adverts on social media. Facebook. Our Facebook page is very active. Before COVID, we used to do this, can I say, road shows, where we sensitize. We go to the slums like Kayole, Kibera, Madare, and we just call these youth groups and we teach them on the importance of having skills. These women and these youths feel left out because I didn't go to school. Mtu anajiona ni kama ni mjinga because he or she believes that I cannot do anything. But we wanted to bring something else. All hopes are not lost. There's still something you can do. I'm actually doing it. It's not like I'm seated in a big office somewhere, but I'm telling you, this is what I am doing.
You're living proof.
Yes, if you see me looking like this, it's because of this. So some young lady out there will be like, mi nataka kuwa kama wewe. So this is what we used to do before COVID, but right now we use our social media sana because most of the people are in social media.
All right. So, but even still, in using social media to reach out, there are still people who would want to take advantage of the situation. Do you have like a verification mechanism to actually ensure that these opportunities are going to the deserving people that you have specifically gone out to look for?
Yes, we do have. Before we do a thorough background check. When you come to us, we don't just take you in. We have a 1 month of just doing background check of our students, knowing where do you live. If you're living with your parents, we have to talk to your parents.
Consent again.
Yeah, yes, we have to have the consent of your parent and even the area chief who knows you around there. So if you go to the kijijis in the slums, they have this area chief where everyone utapata mtu moja anajulikana almost na everybody. So we have proof that this kind of a person, by day she stays here, this is what she does, she's a mama mboga or she's doing this, and she's a really nice person. Because now again, we don't just take everyone. You might be vulnerable, but now your interest is not there, or you're not focused, or you're not serious about what you want in your life. So we have to get the people who are serious, because we're looking into it that every student completes
the course. Once you start, no dropping out.
Yes, once you start, we want you to complete it, because the end game ni usaidike. You get help, and the end game is I get to change your life. You're no longer the same person when you walked into Frankie's Foundation.
You're able to take care of yourself and those that you love. And how has the reception been like for the women that, you know, you took this idea to them, they were interested and they took it on, and the population generally that you have been targeting, how have they received this whole idea of women joining the ICT space?
They've received it well. When we started Frankie's, it was all about now the youth. And when we started it, before we could now start doing vigorous adverts and what, so we could only get male coming in. So now when I started sharing my story about Frankie's Foundation, and I remember I did my first interview, and the next day my office was crammed with women. So it's something that it's something they didn't hear of, but once they got it, now I'm getting more women coming in, because now when we graduated our first women, we even got more enrolling in, because now they could see it is something that it's possible. You see, the problem with us women, we always want to see who starts first so that we can go in, because now it was now a field that was now termed as a male-dominated area. You cannot go in there as a woman. But once they saw like 2, 3, 4, 10 are doing the training, so the reception is very good, and I'm getting, right now I have a lot of applications. Women just waiting to join the course, because it's also something that when you get it, you don't just go and sit with it. Once I've taught you to do something with your hands, you can actually go and market yourself, get yourself clients, do something good. One client will refer you to another. So wameona inasaidia, and the reception is, they impressed it well.
That's the beauty of a transferable skill. You know, no one can take it away from you. You can only give it, and you can earn a living from it, and you can lead a very decent life from just a skill that you learned. Now, in as much as we say it's a male-dominated industry, yes, the men are there, and given they are, you know, they contribute to the biggest majority, they also have a role to play when it comes to encouraging more women to actually join the industry. From your personal experience and from what you have seen, how do you think this can be done? Bringing men to the conversation to encourage other women to actually step up and, you know, join the industry?
I think we just need to educate our men, because up to date I'm still struggling some men thinking that women cannot do this, you see. So there are these men who are just there to demean you and to make you small and seem small, but still not all men are monsters. There are some men, I'm here because a man believed in me, you see. A man saw me and said, you can actually do this, try do this. You see, there are still men out there who are nice, who are good, kind enough, but we encourage men to be outspoken more, encourage women to join this kind of courses, encourage women to join this kind of fields, because it's not just it was just not meant for men, but anyone can do it. If you can do it, I can do it. All
right, now let's talk a bit about some of the notable achievements that you have been able to tick off as Frankie's Foundation. And the first one that I saw was training over 200 women. Training over 200 women in a span of how many years?
4 years.
4 years.
Yes. In a span of 4 years, we've been able to train over 200 women. As I told you, it was embraced well, and that it's a short course. So it's not a course that goes for 1 year. It is 2 months and you're gone, 2 months and we have others. So in future we're even hoping to train even more, because we are coming up with other new ideas, and that is one of our, we are always proud when we see these women. Some of them have been taken to other organizations and they are now working there. They're not the same people that came in. That is one of our biggest achievement. We've also done a competition, Entrepreneurship World Cup, and we were first position in Kenya, 20 out of 27 participants. So again, because of Corona, we didn't manage to reach the end, because we were supposed to go and present our project in Saudi Arabia. It was a very nice project. It's a foundation, and we still have a business aspect of it, because now the foundation cannot sustain itself. You see, it's a non-profit. We are not charging for the training, but we still need the foundation to grow. If you've been in an organization before, you can anyone can say it's very difficult getting funds. You can do a lot of, we've done proposals, but we've never gotten any fund or any grant. But now we still need this foundation to run. What are we teaching? We are teaching skills. We cannot just teach skills and sit down. So we are offering the same services to the public out there. As Frankie's Foundation, we came up with a very clever way, or a very nice way, because right now if I come to you and tell you nipatie 10,000, just like that, you will not give me. But nikikuja nikuuzie kitu ama nikufanyie kitu, then it wouldn't be so difficult for you to give me that money. So this is what we do. We go to organizations, we go to companies, and we tell them we are a foundation. This is what we do. We also do services. We can service your machines, we can repair your machines. Tupatie hiyo kazi. And you get watatupatia hiyo kazi, and we tell them, by you giving us this, you are supporting this foundation. This is how you're supporting these women. And that's how we work, and we get paid. And that's how our foundation is sustaining itself.
What about involving the Ministry of ICT?
Yes, that was also...
And especially considering it also houses the youth affairs.
Yes, that was also another hard part of it, because we've looked for the Ministry of ICT, but we finally found them. We finally got in touch with the right person that now recognized our foundation. They recognize our foundation as a vocational training college, and we've not yet gotten any funding from it, but that recognition a lot has given us a milestone, has taken us places, because now kuna wale watu wanauliza, are you recognized by any body in the government? But you are recognized by the Ministry of ICT. They gave us a training space that when we get enough funds, we are able to take our students there. So we have a training space from the Ministry of ICT, and we are able to train our women there.
Now, which other stakeholders or members of the value chain have been able to come on board and support in one way, shape, manner, or form?
At the moment, we just have the Ministry of ICT.
All right.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
But, maybe somebody is watching us today and they're open to assisting. What forms of assistance do you feel are necessary, or rather make sense to the kind of job that you're doing with these women?
Because it's a tech industry, and these women need support. We all need support. The foundation needs to be supported. You can come in as a sponsor. You can choose to sponsor 10 women. You can choose to sponsor 5. You can come in as a sponsor. You can also, there are some people who bring in tools. We need tools to work in the workshop. Yes. The space that we are training in town is we are leasing the space. You can also choose to just sponsor the foundation by paying for us the space. Any kind of help, it's appreciated. Whether you bring in tools, that you've helped somewhere, whether you've sponsored like 10 students or 5 women, any kind.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, this now brings me to the political part of this all, because again, as a woman and as a young person for that matter, you have thrown your hat in the political space and you are hoping to become an MCA in Nairobi County. Where did this stem from?
All this motivated by my background, where I grew up, and my mom gives me a lot of strength. I was brought up in a family of 4, and just a single parent, my mom, and she's disabled. So my life hasn't been that easy, because I didn't grow up like a normal kid. So I had to work 2 times better, because mom would always push, ukicheza na maisha yako, you see how I'm looking like, this is how you will end up. And I could see she had so much strength and she had so much courage that I always walk with. And even joining Frankie's Foundation and deciding to support women is because I grew up with women at home, my mom, my sisters. I just have one brother who acted like a father to all of us. You see, So when I got into the political space, or when I thought into getting into the political space, is because of what I want to change in the society.
And what is that?
Yes.
That you want to change?
I want more women into these spaces. I want more women to be empowered. Empowerment of women imeenda chini in Kenya, you see, because no one believes that a woman can do something. The other day I heard in the radio somebody asking, is Kenya ready for women leadership? And I got kind of offended, and I was like, what sort of a question is that? We are ready. And you see what happened with Martha Karua. You see what Martha Karua is one of the icons that makes me feel I can do it.
Yes.
You see, because she started at an early age. So I want to change this. And I have started doing something. For 4 years running this organization and supporting these women without charging them anything shows that I have the heart to the community. I want to solve this problem of unemployment, you see. And that's why we were coming up with this field of skills. And I want more women into this so that we can reduce prostitution, we can reduce gender-based violence. All this happened because people are idle, watu wamekaa kwa nyumba, there's no money, there's a lot of frustration. But if everyone can get something to do, if you're getting even 200 shillings per day, you see, everyone has 200 shillings per day, which means our economy is growing. And I want another woman out there to believe that hii kitu si ati iko na wenyewe. You see, we all can do it. That's why I believed so much in myself, and I said, I'm getting into politics. Because for me, I feel like there's something that has to be done. Women are not just supposed to be seen as sex objects. No. We actually can speak out, we have good ideas, we can do something. You see, and wherever there is a woman, everything is always organized, even in the house. And you can know, if you go out, hata ukiwa na 10 bob, but you have a kid at home, you'll remember, ule mtoto ana socks, and you'll even sacrifice that, hiyo pesa ununue kitu. So women, we have this heart of, we are emotional beings. We take everything we put all our emotion in it. Okay. So this is why I'm getting into politics and running as an MCA in Nairobi CBD. That is the toughest ground to tackle.
And why did you choose to start with, or rather to go for the MCA seat as opposed to any other of the elective 6 positions that there are?
I felt comfortable at the moment with MCA seat because MCA is tunasemanga is the nursery of politics. That is where, yeah, that is where you start with. Yeah. You start. I never bite more than I can chew. This is what I can chew for now. Yes, this is where I want to start with. And this is where I want to show people and other women that it can be done. Despite of your age, I meet people out there and telling me, you're very young, ngoja next time. There is no next time. This is Kenya. If you don't fight for your position right now, there is no next time, because the next time another young person will come who is even more stronger than I am, with brilliant ideas than I am, then what will I say? So I'm fighting for my space right now because I want young people to believe that you are not just there to be brainwashed and to be told what to do. You see, it's a time that we dictate what we want. This is what we want. 13.9 million youths in this country can make a decision. You see, we don't have to be always brainwashed by handouts and wamama tunaitwa tu mahali tunabebwa na lori tunaenda kupiga kelele. No, that is not what we want.
All right. Now, you see, when it comes to our country, representation has always been a big problem, and especially for women. And there are 2 arguments here. One that says that women are not showing up for the positions that are available, and others saying women just are not interested in politics, or others saying that there aren't opportunities available for these women. Given you are joining this political space, do you think women are not showing up to represent themselves, or the opportunity to do so is what is a problem looking at our political history as a country?
There are so many opportunities for women, and do you know why women are not showing up? Or rather, they show up and we end up with lesser women in there. There's something where there's a lot of fear being sold out for women out there. Like I've told you, somebody tells you you're still young, you can do it next time. That is, it's like this person is trying to brainwash me. Another thing is still, women are being seen as sex objects. There are some people who are not strong enough to actually know how to handle this. Because you will get in there, utaambiwa all sort of things. People will want to sleep with you. People will want to do this type of things to you. Some people are even threatening to kill you. You see, these are things that scares women. You see, when once a woman umeshamwambia kitu kama hiyo, people will feel like, no, this is not a space for me. I say politics, and we are being told every day politics is dirty. It is not dirty. Yeah. We have dirty people in politics that we should just do away with, you see. And until that day, we will have strong women who can stand on their grounds and say no. If I say no, it is no. And if I put my mind in this thing, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. What's the worst thing that can happen? If the likes of Wakina Martha Karua have survived, if the likes of Wakina Charity Ngilu, Akina Millie Odhiambo have survived, these are strong women. And you need to be strong to be able to be in this political space. So women are not coming in because of the fear that is being sold out there about politics. And also, with our political parties, sometimes I feel like they are more biased against women, because you'll find in a constituency or in a ward, one woman is running against like 10 men, you see. And these 10 men, they'll try to overshadow you, they'll try to make you seem small, and at the end of the day, you'll find wame power. So I feel like also our political parties should actually consider women in some position, like where one woman is standing against like 10 men, or the only woman is standing there but men surrounding her. I mean, she should be given a chance, because that's a woman with a lot of courage, you see.
Now, you have mentioned the number of things that you would want to bring to life should you get this elected position. But we all know when it comes to the political space, the first 100 days are always definitive to any leader's tenure and their leadership. Now, should you get this position, should you be elected as an MCA within the Nairobi space, in order of priority, what are those things that you would want to effect as soon as possible?
According to the ward that I'm vying in, Nairobi Central, CBD. So the most, my priorities are 3. I want to do rehabilitation of street families. We have a larger number of street families that are growing in CBD every day. After Corona, the number went high. You get a man living in the street with the whole family. So we have to do rehabilitation of the street families. Some of them, we just find a place for them to stay. They are very sane people. Kuna wale watu wananikuja and they are just telling me, mi nataka tu kazi. If I can get a house, if I can get a job, I can get a single room and stay with my family there. So we find a place for these people to actually, some will go to rehab, some will just find a place for them and something to do. Now that again comes with the empowerment of the youths and women. You see, when you place these people into these empowerment centers, you've helped somewhere, because now you're teaching them survival skills, how they can survive on their own, instead of now the government dishing out money. That is one of the things that I'm thinking of doing the first 100 days, and ensuring that there is security. In town, uptown, you can walk at night, but on the downtown, kushuka chini, you cannot. Yes, our security is not good. And again, it's because of these growing numbers of street families. At the end of the day, they need to eat, they need something in their pockets. So they will wait for you down there, na wakunyonge. So I have to ensure that security is well and our environment is well conserved. Takataka, and there are a lot of garbages down there.
Nairobi garbage.
Yes. Yeah. So this is all liaising with the county assembly, and when you're in good relationship with the governor and the MP, I believe everything is possible. You see, how long can it take the county assembly kutoa trucks kubeba hizo takataka and ensure that that street is just well maintained, for even hawkers to hawk in these other streets, no wasisumbuane na kanjo huko chini. This is something that I'm planning to to do when I get the seat, and also just try and negotiate. These hawkers are also our mothers and fathers out there. They also need to do something. Our markets are filled. If we can even create spaces in the market, or if the spaces are not there, but why can't we negotiate for, we give them timelines. Like they can sell in town for 4 hours from 4 to 9. And we give them spaces where they can sell in, and wasisumbuane na kanjo, so that they can also have peace when they are selling their stuff. At the end of the day, they get something to take home.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, as we bring this conversation to a close, just your call to action message, number one, when it comes to Frankie Foundation and the fact that you're targeting women to join this tech space and take up these opportunities that are readily available waiting for them. They just need to show up. And then again, your role in the political space. There is your camera.
Okay, to any woman listening to me right now, all hopes are not lost. We still have hope. Whether you went to school or not, we as Frankie's Foundation are offering something, and this is a survival skill. This is something that will help you for the rest of your life. So you can find us in any social media, Frankie's Foundation, and apply for this course. It's a 2-month course and it is free of charge. You can come at Norwich Union mezzanine floor for more information. And just have hope, never give up in life. As a politician, Nairobi,
residents of Nairobi, especially the business community.
Yes, the residents of Nairobi, the business community, you know me, you've been with me doing my door-to-door campaign. Most of you know what I do, and most of you know what I can do. If I've been able to support for 4 years without getting anything from the government or from anybody, I believe that when you give me this chance to run as an MCA in Nairobi CBD, I can do more. So this time round, tunasema, we choose change. And let us believe in women this time round. Let us not be brainwashed. Let us chagua mtu.
All right, sitaongeza. We have been speaking with Vivian Owino. She is the co-founder of Frankie's Foundation and also an aspirant seeking the MCA elective seat here in Nairobi and an ODM ticket. So we do wish you all the best as you continue with these two journeys that, you know, have been anchored on one key aspect that was your life experience, and we'll be here to support you as best as we can.
Okay, I can just correct something. Yes. I'm not running on an ODM ticket. I'm independent.
Independent.
Yes.
Point of correction. Independent candidate seeking the Nairobi CBD MCA elective post.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
We do appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. So that brings us to a close of Good Morning Kenya. Thank you for being with us through and through. That is all for today, but be sure to join us again tomorrow morning right here on KBC Channel 1. My name is Jen Wamboy. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing.
Kupata Yes My Love kama sikiza tune yako, dial *811 *816#.
Mutiso, wewe nafanya nini hiyo? Wacha nieleza, panataka hiyo kitu. Panataka Mutiso.
Ai mbo, sasa hiyo tu unakuja unaanza kunizuzia kwa nini hata sijafanya kitu?
Wewe nieleza Mutiso, hapana leta hiyo kitu. Taka. Wacha nachukua simu. Hello? Yes my lovely. Yes, I did the dishes.
Kupata Yes My Love, bonyeza *811 *816#. *811 *816#.
She's the lady who was going to get married. Remember the wedding you didn't let us attend? Her fiancé is the guy who saved me from drowning.
What was Paulina doing here? You absolutely don't deserve a woman like my mother. You are not man enough for any woman, especially not for someone like her.
Don't
be ridiculous! If I really wanted your family to find out about the two of us, I would have told them ages ago. So don't blame me. You knew that this could happen. No!
Just 2 to 3 weeks. So
No, I'm not crazy. Please don't let them take me, Adrian. Don't let them. I'm not going anywhere.
Calm down.
If you love me, don't let them take me.
Julieta, don't do this. Calm down, Julieta.
As Machakos County is gearing up to elect a new governor, how well do you know the candidates and what do they have to offer? KBC Channel 1 has organized a gubernatorial debate for Machakos aspirants this Thursday, 19th May, live from Scott Christian University, Machakos, exclusively on KBC Channel 1.
Kwa sababu unaogopa Kate. Is that true?
I don't seek it again.
You've really disappointed me.
Mimi nadhani kuwa yeye yotumiwa na Kate. Ni kama utaniharibia ndoa yangu.
Na sifanyi hivi eti kwa sababu nataka. Ni shida mwenzako. Nataka unchunguzie babangu.
Nani?